Tradoon. 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 present to you the top 10 weirdest looking dinosaurs. I want to state the obvious and tell you that I'm going to be butchering the names of these dinosaurs.
Butchering the names of these dinosaurs.
In at number 8, we have the Tradoon. Tradoon.
In 1856, the fossilized teeth of a small dinosaur were discovered in Montana. The species was aptly named Troodon, which means wounding teeth.
Tradoon.
When evolution passed out the stealth gene, Troodons lucked out.
Tradoon.
This drawer contains almost all of the North American identified specimens of Troodon.
Troodon was every inch the predator, with razor-sharp serrated teeth and large hook-like claws. Troodon probably fed on our ancestors, the early mammals. Troodon may have posed a greater threat to mammals than any other predator on Earth. The Troodon was suddenly cut down in its prime.
Tradoon.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Paleontologizing. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you've had a great day so far. I hope you're ready for it to get better as we talk about fossil science today. If anybody's here for the very first time, then allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach, you know? Talking about my field of study. And Claire Burr. Hello, Claire. Yeah. Very nice, Claire Burr. Very nice. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it, Claire. How did your stream go? I hope it was really good. It's great to have you back, Claire. Thank you for everything you do. Tell me how your broadcast went. And if anybody's not yet following Claire Burr, one of our longest-running moderators here on the Paleontologizing channel, and the reason why there is a YouTube presence. The reason that any of these streams make it onto YouTube, that's because of Ms. Claire Burr. So, Claire, thank you for everything you do. Anyway, where was I? Talking about who I am. Yeah, my name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. You probably know already that a paleontologist is a fossil scientist. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular. I study them, I excavate them in the field, and I publish on them in the scientific literature. Dinosaurs are my object of study. Most paleontologists don't work on dinosaurs, but a small minority of us do, and that includes me. So if you happen to have any questions about dinosaurs, or about just about any subject in natural history, extinction, evolution, speciation, cladogenesis, anagenesis, Lazarus taxa, living fossils, etc. Or if
The field isn't narrow to what we understand.
That's true.
On the contrary, we stretch our understanding to try and take in the universe.
Yep, and Maury, thank you for the follow. Maury? Either way, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for following. Welcome. If you have any questions about any of that stuff, do not hesitate to ask. That's the bread and butter of these broadcasts, is people asking questions. That's what sets this apart from, like, a YouTube video or something like that, you know? It's that interactivity that makes Twitch so special. Anyway, let me scroll up to the top. We'll say hello to everybody, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how my day has gone so far, why I'm dressed so casual today. Oh, it's because I'm moving soon. I've been very busy. Office is a real mess right now, and it's just going to get messier as I pack things up. But anyway, let's see who's here in chat, and we'll scroll down, then we'll get into our discussion for the day. Kodali, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome, Kodali. Seems like you are very often first. Welcome, Kodali. And Matt M33, hello to you. Hope you've had a great day so far. A Truckhorn, howdy, howdy. Got here even before I did today. Beautiful. Alex Speed 75, thank you again for those 6 months of support, Alex Speed. Thank you, thank you. Acrocanthosaurus, how are you doing? Welcome back. Good to see you again. Steely Dan, hello, hello. Sandwich Nom Nom, welcome back. Apple Juice Green, welcome for the first time. Apple Juice Green, it's good to have you here. Thank you for your follow earlier. I saw that in my activity feed. We've got Grim Deviant here too. How are you doing, Grim Deviant? And cheers to you. See that measuring cup emote there? Ice water. Kaya in the sky. How are you doing, Kaya? Welcome, welcome. Goganek. 44 points to go. Yes, for our Partner Plus push. You can type an exclamation mark PPP into chat to learn a little bit about that. But yeah, that's in part thanks to you, Goganek. Thank you for your upgrading to a tier 3 sub. That makes a huge difference. That's 6 points right there. It's thanks to you, Golganak. Thank you. Arle is here. Arle, hope you're having a good day. It's good to see you. We've got Lil Pink Pony. Hello, hello to you. Oscar Juniors and Neilf and Herr Bothan, Marika, Danish Viking. And of course, the Mayor of Space, the inimitable Mayor of Space. Welcome back, Mayor. It's good to have you here. Smorphosaurus has arrived too. How are you doing, Smorph? Welcome, welcome. Creatrix Brit, big paleo salute to you too, Brit. Thanks for being here. I hope your day is going hunky-dory as well. And I am Morvash. Thank you for being here too. Welcome. Holy cow, Victorious. Oh yeah. Or 17 months ago.
Recent analysis confirms that 17 months is not a distinct species, but a mature form of Annualsaurus.
There you go, Victorious. I love when people here have learned something. Warms my heart. Almost as much as those 17 months of support do, Victorious. Thank you for keeping me here on the air for that long.
Here today because,
yeah,
by the luck of the draw, dinosaurs who had been dominant over mammals in ordinary times got felled in a mass extinction.
It's true, Dither 00. Thank you for the 11 months right there. That is almost a whole year, Dither. Thank you for keeping me online for that long. And you are one of those points for our Partner Plus push, so thank you, Dither, for your contribution there. Being a recurring subscriber like that. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But we've also got Rocco File here, and Chris TS, Hugan9129, Mirgle Schmirgle, Javasaurus, and Dark Mock Rises. How are you all doing? It's great to have you here. And It Then Did, Patrick Crusader, Ramen Warcult, and Happy Nightmares, Ander Iron Man, and Alex Speed. How are you all doing? What It Do is back as well. Welcome, What It Do. Marai, thank you for being here. Crate Fruit, what's shaking with you? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. Along with Katie Wiggins. Says, hey, Danny. Hey, Katie. How are you? I hope things are good in your world. Lucid Dream says, I'm here. So you are a Lucid Dream. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Welcome back. And...
Dinosaur Man.
Smegets81, thank you for the 2 months of support. with those primes there. I do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Holy cow. Thank you for supporting me. It means a lot when you spend your prime here. It helps keep me on the air, and I appreciate it. Gray Fox 01, how are you doing? And Venti, what a great name. How are you doing? I haven't seen your name here in chat before. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you. And I appreciate that support, Phoenix Firestar. 300 bits. We got a hype train going here. Beautiful. That is very nice. Yeah. Gray Fox wants to know how I'm doing. I'm doing pretty well, Gray Fox. Feeling slightly stressed about the move that's happening next week. I'm going to be moving next, I think, Friday. Thursday, Friday? Anyway, so I'm going to be actually taking that day off from streaming. Yeah. My landlord said that she was selling the building out from under me and the roommates, and maybe she's changed her mind or something, but I've already found another place to live that's going to be better, and so I'm... Anyway. You know how landlords are. There's a reason everyone universally loves landlords. Oh, boy. Yeah. So I'm gonna be moving, and yeah, things have been busy. I did some packing earlier, and that's why I'm dressed a little more casually today. Also, I was at the museum in Berkeley this morning, listening to a talk by Mike Bell about stickleback fish evolution. Some of you might remember that critter and might remember that name. We'll watch a little video to kind of refresh us on this, but it was so cool to actually see him talk in person about this. We didn't have time for questions, but I might be emailing him in the future. Maybe he'll even want to be an interviewee on this channel at some point, given that he's now officially retired but still doing research. We'll see. Yeah. You graduated university recently. Congratulations, Happy Nightmares. Congratulations. Holy cow, that is, that's a big deal. Graduation from university. That's a huge deal. Congrats. Super cool. Yeah. Why not stream the move, says Stinky Winky? Because it's going to take too long, and the move requires me to move my streaming setup. You know? So I can't. You know? Yeah. Also, that would not be... I would not be able to answer questions or anything. I'm going to be laser focused on moving all my stuff. Yeah. No life allowed. There you go, Risu Dego. How are you doing? Welcome back. Yeah. And Espy says, good evening from not sunny Quebec City, Danny. Well, Espy, good afternoon to you from the beautiful, very sunny today, and warm San Francisco Bay Area. I took the train into Berkeley this morning. Beautiful out. It feels like summertime, which is kind of nuts. Yeah, of course, still wearing shorts and a t-shirt, like I do for 95% of the year here. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're weathering the Canadian winter with aplomb, Aspie. It's good to have you here. Thinking warm thoughts for you. And Mirgle Schmirgle says, isn't there a law that says they have to give you 3 months notice or something like that? No, the landlord did give me 3 months notice, and then she decided she wasn't selling after all? Maybe? I'm confused. She seems confused too.
Species to comprehend and appreciate the great dinosaurs.
And Mommy Does, thank you for the 19 months of support. I do really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. That's excellent. 19 months is a long time, Mommy Does. Thank you for keeping me here on the air for that long. I'm grateful. Yeah. Dyson Dinosaur says, hello, Danny. Cheers from Belgium. How are you doing, Dyson Dinosaur? Welcome back. I hope all's well with you. I hope you've been doing splendidly. And, how's the weather there in Belgium right now? It's probably dark out already, I would gather. But it's still daylight here in California. But anyway, it's good to see you. Welcome back. And yeah, let's see here. Anyway, yeah. Dark and cold. There you go. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Wrote a research proposal in less than 2 weeks. I feel proud of myself. Very nice. Well, I hope it is granted. Dyson Dinosaur, I wish you the very best. I really hope that you get all the funding you need and more. Excellent stuff. Could we maybe inquire what the project is? Can you give us any hints about that? Love to hear about it. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, yeah, this morning I took a little trip, like I often do, to the University of California Museum of Paleontology, and was able to watch a really cool talk by Mike Bell on stickleback fish. Here's Mike Bell right there doing some field research. He is an evolutionary biologist. Kind of straddles the line between modern creatures and fossil creatures. These amazing fishes called sticklebacks. So let's talk about that a little bit. And Dyson Dinosaur says Asian ornithopods. Very cool. And suitably vague. I appreciate that, Dyson Dinosaur. Very nice. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, Hugin wants to know, did all sauropods hold their heads high off the ground, or were some ground browsers? Some of them were, low-level sweep feeders, we would say, Hugin, yeah. And Dyson Dinosaur says, I've never been to that museum. I've been to LA County Museum, I have too, and the Raymond Alf Museum. I've never been to the Alf Museum, Dyson Dinosaur, but I've heard good things. Yeah. UCMP is a really cool place, and, yeah, and I spent a fair amount of time there. And that's where I got my start as a paleontologist, was at the museum at Berkeley. It's not really a public-facing museum, it's a big research collections. Maybe the biggest fossil collection in the western United States. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And thank you, Claire, for the command there. Good stuff. Thanos gathering infinity stones. Thanos is an Abelisaur, right? Mirgle Schmirgle? Yeah, there you go. That's, I think it's a dinosaur based on very, very little material. Yeah. Anyway, Juvenile Parasaurolophus. Oh yeah, Dyson Dinosaur. We've talked about that specimen. Really, really cool. Anyway. And how are you doing, Lenina? Welcome back. It's good to see you. Let's talk a little bit about stickleback fish, because I saw a really cool talk about them today, and it's just kind of astonishing to me the point that we've gotten to in evolutionary biology where we can make these really cool discoveries like this. So let's look up sticklebacks on that tree of life. Yeah. Is anyone here in chat familiar with these fishes? I almost want to do a quick little poll. And yeah, there's a dinosaur genus named Thanos, Mirgle Schmirgle, yeah. It was named a couple years ago. It's based on like one bone or something. Not a lot. Yeah, sticklebacks are these little fishes. There's 24 recognized species according to this tree. And the 3-spined stickleback is one that we're probably going to be looking at. Three-spined stickleback. I typed it in exactly like that, and it didn't come up. But whatever. Let's take a look at these critters and talk about why they're such an excellent model organism for evolution. Here we go. Take a look at this. You know, we're not all about dinosaurs all the time here on Paleontologizing. I try and talk about other critters as well, because the history of life on Earth is this grand and absolutely engrossing, fascinating, you know, pageant or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. The words escape me when thinking about how cool the history of life on Earth is. And this is one of those organisms that I think is underappreciated in a lot of ways, especially by the general public. Most people are not aware of stickleback fish, but holy cow, are they cool. By the end of this video, you will have a better appreciation for these incredible animals and what they can teach us. So let's take a look. Another one of these excellent videos from HHMI. Yeah. And Kenzie, hang on. This is an Allosaurus skull right here. Yeah, I finished this a few months ago. Yeah, life-size Allosaurus skull 3D print. Pretty big one too. This is one of the biggest Allosaurus skulls I've ever seen. But yeah. Yeah.
For tens of thousands of years, much of North America lay buried under ice up to a mile thick. Then, the massive ice sheets receded.
You need to take some of your own advice.
Oh.
Aren't you the man who told me to live every week like it's Shark Week, and that nothing's impossible except for dinosaurs? Don't give up on life, sir.
Wow. Darth Goof, thank you for the 27 months of support. I appreciate that, Darth Goof. Thanks for keeping me here online for that long. Welcome back. And Marika says, is Allosaurus the Jurassic lion? It is indeed. Yeah, Allosaurus is, well, here. I guess we're going off on a little Allosaurus tangent before we get into stickleback fish. We find you a decent Allosaurus. Oh, I like this one a lot. Yeah. Allosaurus is the most common, and some would say biggest, big theropod dinosaur from the Morrison Formation. Not like Jim Morrison of the Doors, but the Morrison Formation. You know, at the end of the Jurassic period here in North America, we had all these really famous dinosaurs. Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Apatosaurus, aka Brontosaurus, Diplodocus, and Brachiosaurus, Camptosaurus, and Dryosaurus. These are all Morrison Formation dinosaurs. Allosaurus is the most common big predatory dinosaur in that environment. It's also the state fossil of Utah. And there's currently 2 recognized species. Although if Saurophaganax is another Allosaurus, which I think it probably is, then you might say there's 3 species. But anyway, Allosaurus, really, really cool dinosaur. There's a skull of Allosaurus fragilis there. Yeah, these are big animals. They get pretty big. Allosaurus can be a large critter. It's not quite as big as Tyrannosaurus, although the larger individuals get up to almost that big. But it's also a more lightly built animal than Tyrannosaurus. It's less bulky, less hefty. It's less of a chonker. Yeah, and its skull is more lightly built than that of T-Rex. It really is a beautiful piece of evolutionary architecture there. It really is. Yeah. So anyway, and hey, Confused Echidna, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah. And it looks great with the light. Thank you, Aspie. Thank you. I really like these lights. I can change the colors and everything on them. Here, watch. This is pretty neat. see. That. Purple. Let's bring it back up to red, though. Or like kind of an orangish. Yeah, I like that. Very nice. That's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. I really like these lights. Yeah. Yeah, anywho. Oh, and Guanji. Yes, Alex Dixon, like from the 1969 film The Valley of Guanji. Good movie, actually. For what it is, it's a great film. And Confused Echidna says, I like the juxtaposition of the ancient dinosaur skull with the modern color change lights. It's so awesome. That's what we do in paleontology, Confused Echidna. Bringing new methods and new technologies to bear on solving ancient mysteries. That's what we do. Yeah. That's one of your favorite films? It's honestly one of mine too, Alex Dixon. The Valley of Guanji is great. It really is. Should we... Do we dare watch a trailer? This is gonna take us... Yeah, here. There we go. Let's just watch this real quick.
Stop and listen.
What you are about to see has never been seen before by human eyes.
Guanji. The Valley of Guanji. Amazing creatures. The beasts seen for the first time in the life of man.
And there you go, Claire Burr. I saw that, yeah.
James Franciscus, Gila Golan, Richard Carlson, and Guanji the Great.
Yeah.
The world will never be the same again.
And this has a paleontologist character in it.
Guanji. This picture has been rated G.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, that's Allosaurus there in the Valley of Guanji. Or at least, it's a big theropod. I usually say it's supposed to be Allosaurus. Some people say it's Tyrannosaurus. But anyway, Allosaurus, very cool critter. Very cool critter. And when does that movie take place? I think around the turn of the century, Darth Goof. Yeah. And this movie is really hard to find. I have it on DVD, Patrick Crusader. Or used to, at least. Are you working on getting it uploaded? Oh, Claire, I appreciate that. Claire, you work so hard. I appreciate you, Claire. Thank you, thank you. Wonderful. Rated G for Guanji. There you go, Beats International. Yeah. Kenzie says, I like to think of Allosaurus as the Tyrannosaurus of the Jurassic. I mean, of the late Jurassic, yeah. Yeah. That's another thing that I should hasten to talk about here. And yeah, when we're talking about our stickleback fish, we'll be talking about some of this. But anyway, the Jurassic is a long time. It goes from 201 million years ago to 145. And yeah. 201 minus 145 equals, that's 56 million years there. And Allosaurus, I think, is just from the Tithonian stage, so it's just from like the last little bit of the Jurassic. Like the last, I don't know, 5 million years or something like that. So when we say from the Jurassic, we're talking about, shoot, what number did I just say? 45, 50 million years? It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, 55 million years. That's a lot of time. 56, thank you, Kenzie. But yeah. Anyway, good stuff. But let's get back into talking about how we learn about this stuff. How do we understand things about the rate of evolution and how fast organisms change, and what are the external factors that cause that evolution? Let's talk about that here.
In what is now Alaska,
there you go, Alex Fiction, yeah.
Ocean-bound streams and rivers emerged, opening up new possibilities for countless species.
Ooh, sandhill cranes. And a bear.
One of the animals that came calling was the three-spined stickleback.
Yeah.
Common to the Northern Ocean, this little fish spawns in fresh water. There were now lots.
So kind of like, that's really important to understand. Since they spawn in fresh water, they're kind of like salmon or something like that. Well, they'll come in from the ocean and they'll swim up a river in order to have their babies. That's hugely important for this story.
One of the animals that came calling was the three-spined stickleback.
Yeah.
Common to the Northern Ocean, this little fish spawns in fresh water.
Yep.
There were now lots of new spawning grounds to explore.
Mirgle Schmirgle's got a question, actually. One thing I have to wonder is why Mesozoic geologic periods are so long, especially compared to some of the Paleozoic and Cenozoic periods. Are there no distinct boundary conditions that can divide them into smaller periods? No, there definitely are, Mirgle Schmirgle, yeah. Part of that is arbitrary. Part of it is that when these were first being named, you know, that was done in Europe. And you didn't always have the greatest, especially in, like, England, you didn't really have high resolution for this sort of thing. When they were naming these, Cretaceous means chalky because the original rocks that they found were kind of chalky. The Jurassic is named after the Jura Mountains in Western Europe, Eastern Europe. The Triassic is named after the Trias, which is like a series of 3 sets of rocks in Germany. Whereas the other geologic periods are named after specific places. The Permian is named after a place in Russia, I believe. Carboniferous means coal-bearing or like carbon-filled, because there was a lot of coal in the Carboniferous rocks. In England, I believe. Devonian is named after Devon, because that's the place where these rocks were exposed. And some of these names have changed around in past years, like Paleogene and Neogene. These are new terms in the Cenozoic. But it used to be Tertiary and Quaternary. But now we say Paleogene and Neogene, and then Quaternary. So the Tertiary was subdivided. Yeah, I would really like to learn some more about the history of the naming of these different sets of rocks and why they are the way that they are. But the reason that the Cretaceous is so stupidly long, it's longer than the entire Cenozoic era. The Cretaceous period is longer than the entire Cenozoic era. And that's, I think, because they just didn't have a lot of rocks to study at the beginning of the science of geology that really subdivided these very well. So yeah, that's why it's particularly long. Anyway, yeah. And Jura is in West Central Europe. France, Germany, Switzerland. Okay, thank you, Matt Pie. Yeah. And yep, Alex Vixen, the Russian region of Perm. Yep. So you can look up each of these names on Wikipedia and learn about, well, Paleogene is a bad example, but you can learn about, you know, the Jurassic, Triassic, Permian, Carboniferous, Devonian, etc. And actually, the Carboniferous here in the United States is subdivided into 2 different periods. We call them the Pennsylvanian and the Mississippian. In Europe, people just say Carboniferous, but here in the United States, we make a distinction between the Pennsylvanian and the Mississippian. So yeah, there's like some regional differences in how we talk about these rocks as well. Yeah. Anyway, back to our stickleback fishes.
Common to the Northern Ocean, this little fish spawns in fresh water. There are now lots of new spawning grounds to explore.
Oh yeah. So that's after the last ice age. Suddenly the ice retreats, and you've got all of these lakes that were scooped out by glaciers. And it's beautiful habitat for these fishes. They come in from the ocean, and some of them get stuck there.
But as the ice-free land began to rise, streams and the fish in them were cut off from the sea.
There you go.
Isolated populations of sticklebacks faced a survival challenge. Could they adapt to full-time life in a freshwater lake?
Could they indeed? Let's see.
10,000 years later, they're still there, but they have been transformed.
And there's modern sticklebacks.
Changed in many ways as they adapted to life in post-glacial lakes. They got smaller, their coloring changed, and most strikingly, even their skeletons changed.
Yep. And this is what I was learning about
exactly
today.
How stickleback bones evolved. We're learning about a lot more than just fish. We're
Pretty
learning about how
cool.
all animal bodies evolved.
This is really neat stuff.
But now the dinosaurs rule.
And HMN, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Marika says Silurian and Devonian sound so otherworldly to me, like something from a Lovecraftian story. Interesting. Well, I hear Devon in the UK is an otherworldly kind of place. Yeah, inhabited by all kinds of bizarre, strange, exotic creatures. Yeah.
Well, I hope we caught some fish.
This is Bear Paw Lake, one of many lakes created in Alaska by the glacier's retreat 8 to 10,000 years ago.
And this is really neat. So sometimes if you're in a plane over, traveling over, or just look at Google Earth, over places that were previously glaciated, you'll see these patterns where they're almost like somebody just scooped out bits of the earth right there and filled them with water. And it's those are glacial lakes there. It's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. Yeah. And Cosmic Seekin says, when I was a kid, I fished sticklebacks from a local stream with a net on a pole. Very cool, Cosmic. So you're familiar with these animals. They are super important for understanding rates and mechanisms of evolution, both in their modern examples and also in the fossil record too. Pretty cool.
The sticklebacks.
This drawer contains
Anaconda.
all of the North American identified specimens of Troodon.
Aquaponics. Well. We're talking about some aquatic critters here. Anaconda, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing.
One can catch here are especially intriguing to biologists interested in evolution, such as Mike Bell.
Yeah, this is so cool. I attended one of his talks this morning at the museum in Berkeley. Awesome stuff. Look at them.
Like all freshwater sticklebacks, their ancestors lived in the sea.
Yep.
In the ocean, there are lots of large predatory fish, and there's no place to hide.
So, sticklebacks evolved body armor, bony plates on their side, and long, sharp spines coming off their pelvis and back.
Yep. Anaconda says, my perch would find those sticklebacks tasty. That's why they've got those armor plates and these spines. They use as an anti-predator defense when they're in the open ocean. But as you'll see, once some of these critters find their way into freshwater environments, generation after generation, they evolve, they change. It's super cool stuff, and we can study that. People like Mike Bell study that in order to figure out how living things evolve over time.
They're generally easy for predatory fish to catch, but they're not easy to swallow.
In Bear Paw Lake, however, spines are a liability. There are no largemouth predators here.
Yep.
But there are hungry dragonfly larvae
Oof.
that grab sticklebacks by their spines.
Yowza.
So, pelvic spines actually reduce fitness and lessen a fish's chances of surviving and reproducing.
So you get that? Those spines that are normally an advantage to these fish, they protect them from predators out in the ocean. When they're in a freshwater environment, those spines are no good anymore. The spines make it easier for predators to catch them. Predators like dragonfly larvae. Different predators means that, you know, fitness is measured in a different way, I guess. These guys, those spines become a liability to them. And yeah, Amaleth, that's why we're talking about these. Yeah,
Natural
absolutely.
selection
has been at work.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the pelvis of this fish, there's practically nothing there.
In just a few thousand years, these fish underwent a dramatic skeletal change.
Yep.
Completely losing their
Holy
pelvic
cow.
spines.
Do you see that? So, before, this is an ocean-going stickleback, and then after just a few thousand years, it almost looks like a completely different animal. It's pretty extraordinary. That is natural selection at work.
As pelvic spines are homologous to the hind limbs of four-legged vertebrates, the change we see in sticklebacks is the equivalent of losing legs.
Which is
How does
nuts.
such a dramatic change in form occur?
Yeah. And Stinky Winky says, so wouldn't they just go extinct before they could evolve and lose the spines? They didn't. I mean, it's plain to see that they didn't. So yeah, you would think that, like, you know, well, shoot, with a disadvantage like that, they would just all die, but they didn't. And it's because of genetic variation. That was what Mike Bell's talk was about today. You'll see. You'll see. There's certain members of the population that that already have reduced spines. It's just like a mutation that they have, and they were able to reproduce much more quickly, and then that form kind of becomes dominant in that ecosystem. Like, those genes get spread through the whole population, which is really, really neat. Yeah. I wonder what they thought about sticklebacks back then. Oh, that's a great question, Hanaconda, and that's really cool. Lit reviews that's a lot of my work that I do, that I publish, and stuff is like very lit heavy like that on dinosaurs. They thought sturgeon evolved from elasmobranchs in the 1800s. Yeah, we still think that they're among osteichthyon fishes. We think that they're kind of close to elasmobranchs, but that's been revised lately. Okay, let's jump from our three-spined stickleback to sturgeon. We were just talking about sturgeon yesterday on our stream. Let's go to the Atlantic sturgeon. Yeah. Yeah, so as you'll see, sturgeon are a long way from sticklebacks. Holy cow. And Atlantic sturgeon are critically endangered? That's really sad. But yeah, so actinopterans, they're like a very early diverging branch among actinopterygian fish, ray-finned fish. And then you've got elasmobranchs over here. I guess they would have some similarities in their skeletons, but this is before we really had a good understanding of their fossil history, or, you know, let alone their genetic makeup or anything. So you can kind of see how people way back in the day would look at sturgeon and go like, oh yeah, dude, that looks like a shark. They wouldn't say it like that back in the 1800s, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, and this is like whales losing their legs, kind of Cosmic Seeking, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nuts, the evolution of sticklebacks. It's such cool stuff.
Four-legged vertebrates. The change we see in sticklebacks is the equivalent of losing legs. How does such a dramatic change in form occur? For Stanford molecular geneticist David Kingsley, the transformation of the stickleback pelvis opened a door on an evolutionary puzzle.
What happened at the genetic level at these early stages where the body plan is first being laid out that makes the difference that we now see?
There you go, Andusha, yeah.
The physical forms of all animals are products of development. That process
And Hanakana says, when I did the review, of our understanding was that sturgeon evolved from bony fish and then slowly lost the bony skeleton. I thought, do they not have bones anymore? Are they mostly cartilaginous? Huh. I know I've found bits of fossil sturgeon in the Hell Creek Formation. So I know their skulls are still bony to a certain extent, but maybe the rest of their skeleton, maybe their verts and ribs are mostly cartilage. I'm not sure. They only have bony plates? Really? Huh. Interesting. I guess I found... Oh, maybe the skulls too. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I found bits of sturgeon skull in the Hell Creek. Anyway, it's great to have you here, Hanakana. This is wonderful.
In which a fertilized egg grows and is shaped into an adult. Changes.
Oh yeah, and what do we call this? Changes in form over an animal's lifespan. What do we call those, chat? What do we call this? What's our name for changes in an individual's lifespan? Yeah, Claire Burr, thank you. Yeah, ontogeny.
Ontogeny.
Yes, indeed. In fact,
Ontogeny.
where did that go? Where's my ontogeny button? Oh, here it is. I guess I got to go to a different scene. There we go. Here's a Triceratops as an example.
Ontogeny.
Yeah, so this is distinct from evolution. Evolution happens between generations.
Ontogeny.
So evolution happens when you're a little bit different from your parents, and your parents are a little bit different from their parents. Changes of an individual organism
Ontogeny.
throughout its lifespan, those are changes in ontogeny. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah. Descent with modification is evolution, Tony is my baby. You know that. Yeah. Oh, skeletons are almost all cartilaginous. Interesting, Cosmic Seekin. Huh. Cool. Anyway, these guys are bony fishes. Teleost fishes. Sticklebacks. Yeah.
The physical first being laid out that makes the difference that we now see.
Oh, with
The
eels, very
physical
cool,
forms of all
Hanakon.
animals are products of development. That process in which a fertilized egg grows and is shaped into an adult. Changes in form, therefore, arise from changes in development.
That's
and since
true.
Genes control development. Changes in form are ultimately due to changes in genes.
Yeah, so we're talking about evolution here rather than ontogeny, I suppose. But if you want to change those changes in ontogeny, you got to change the genes, you know? Because your genes code for the way that you grow and develop through your lifespan. And so if you change those genes,
ontogeny,
you know, you get a different end result. So yeah, the evolution of ontogeny. There you go, Anandusha. Yeah.
David, these two fish look different, but they have thousands of genes. How do you pinpoint which genes make the difference?
We started like any geneticist starts. You got to have two things that are different. You got to cross them.
Geneticists use crosses to map the location of genes that make the difference.
Interesting.
Ocean and freshwater varieties of stickleback
There
can
you
be
go, Hugin.
crossed by collecting sperm-filled testes from males and eggs from females and mixing them together.
Huh.
In a matter of days, the beating hearts of stickleback embryos are visible through a microscope.
Wow.
When mature, this first generation is bred again. Each cross reshuffles the genetic material and traits that are passed on from one generation to the next.
Okay.
Traveling with the genes are stretches of DNA geneticists use as markers.
And that gives you the chance then to try to figure out which of the pieces at the genetic level go together with the traits that you see visually at the whole organism level.
Very
That's
cool.
done using the DNA markers to link the trait, in this case the presence or absence of a pelvic spine, to general locations on specific chromosomes.
This is really cool. So they can basically create a key here, and they can say, you know, here's the genes that we've mapped out, and then here's what the animal looks like. And then they can make like a key like this, where it's like this particular gene codes for this particular feature, and they can figure out, they can kind of decode it and be like, this is our guide here for figuring out which genes are associated with which characteristics. It's really, really neat stuff.
This hunt eventually pointed a finger at a well-known and powerful developmental control gene called PIDX1.
PIDX1. And Mike was talking about this today in the talk.
They compared the PIDX1 protein coding sequence in fish with and without pelvises.
Yeah.
What'd you find?
Well, we actually didn't find anything at all. At the coding region of the PIDX1 gene, the actual part that makes the protein, there isn't any difference between marine and freshwater fish.
Well, that's fairly puzzling. I mean,
weird.
For years, we're used to the idea that if there's an evolutionary change, that would be a change in the protein made by a gene. Yep. So you see no differences in the sequence of the PIDX protein between the two fish. I mean, isn't that a paradox?
Downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound.
Krigani Wolfshares, thank you for the 3 months of support. I really do appreciate that, Krigani. Thank you, thank you. And good to have you here. Yeah. Yeah.
A change that would be a change in the protein made by a gene.
Now, what are dinosaurs?
And Radiant Eth. Radiant Leaf. It took me a second. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing, Radiant. It's good to have you here.
So you see no differences in the sequence of the PIDX protein between the two fish. I mean, isn't that a paradox? Isn't that a surprise?
Well, it's still possible that there's something about the expression or the regulation of the gene that's changed. So the structure is fine, but maybe the timing or the place it's normally expressed is different.
Very cool.
To find out, Kingsley's team soaked embryos with a chemical dye that turns blue any tissue where the PIDX1 messenger RNA is produced.
Oh.
Well, if you look at a marine embryo, you see the PIDX1 gene is expressed in multiple places. It turns on in the head region, in the lips. Inside, it would be on in the pituitary. But it also turns on along the side of the body, this very strong blue patch here.
In that tissue, it's telling cells to start growing a full pelvis and spines. And what about in fish that aren't going to make a pelvis?
Right. Key moment in the lab was the same experiment in the lake fish. The head region, you still see blue on the lips. You still see blue inside the head. You don't see that little key blue spot along the side or on the ventral surface of the fish.
So the structure of the protein is the same between the two populations, and the expression of the gene is the same between the two populations, except for just in the pelvis. How can the expression of a gene change in one part of the body, but not another? This is possible because the coding regions of most genes that control development are surrounded by a number of regulatory switches, each of which controls gene expression in a different tissue. Like all DNA, the sequences of switches can acquire mutations. Kingsley had a hunch that the switch regulating PIDX1 expression in the pelvic tissue of freshwater sticklebacks was broken. But to find out, he had to first find that switch.
So this is the thing. In science, we might have hunches. We might have an idea for how something might work. But we have to test it. You got to find a way to actually run an experiment to see if you're right or wrong. And most of the time we'll be wrong. And that's also really cool, because every time you're wrong in science, that means that you're learning something new. We're wrong most of the time. But the important thing is running that test, doing that experiment, taking this idea that you have, which might be very precious to you, like this precious, precious child, this idea that you have, and then you just have to kind of throw it to the wolves. That's how it works in science with ideas. If it can stand up to the test, then maybe it's legit, you know? Yeah, your idea babies. There you go, Claire Burr. Yeah, sacrifice it on the altar of science. Ugh. I don't like that wording, Dusha, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. And Harry Vetch, we don't have any non-avian dinosaur DNA. No, it's never been found. We wouldn't expect to find it. DNA is too fragile to exist for tens of millions of years. But yeah. And Emelith says, I guess it might be harder to do experiments when your subjects have been dead for millions of years. No, you just find different means of testing, you know? there's still ways to run experiments. They're just not going to be done in a wet lab, you know? That's what paleontology is all about, is finding creative ways of using fossils to test different ideas. So yeah. Anyway.
Geneticists find switches by tracking the expression of a reporter protein.
I have to get clever about it. There you go, Emily.
Where a switch is active.
Yeah. And Cosmic Seekin, I assume you meant genome there, but yeah, there are lots of animals that have way bigger genomes than humans, like 10 times bigger. We talked about this last week, in fact. Lungfish have got like, what, 20 times as much DNA as we have, or 100 times more, or something like that? Yeah. Having more DNA does not mean that you're somehow better or superior or more advanced or anything. Because with some creatures, their whole genome just doubles for no reason sometimes. And so they just have twice as many chromosomes for no reason. And it just goes like that sometimes. Yeah. So, yeah.
After cutting the DNA around the PITX1 coding sequence into many different fragments, they attached the green reporter gene to each of them. Then, they injected those fragments into stickleback eggs.
We wait a week or two, and then we ask, are our sticklebacks glowing in the pelvis?
After 5 years of testing different fragments, they had fish with glowing pelvic tissue. They'd found the stretch of DNA that contained the PITX1 switch.
Very cool.
Sequencing that region revealed a dramatic mutation.
Fish that have lost their pelvis have deleted the pelvic switch.
Whoa.
It's gone.
But because this mutation only crippled one specific switch, the PITX1 gene remained fully functional in the rest of the body.
If you do that, you can have a huge effect on the development of that structure, but the fish is fine. Actually, the fish is better than fine. When that deletion occurred, it conferred an advantage on the fish, and that mutation spread throughout the entire population.
So the obliteration of that switch actually makes these fish better adapted to the new environment they're in.
That's right.
Than their ancestors.
Yep.
With the switch identified, he was ready for a final test.
If you've got the right switch, you ought to be able to put it back and reverse the evolutionary trait.
So, they joined the working switch to the PITX1 coding region and injected the combination into eggs from a freshwater stickleback that would normally never form pelvic spines.
Oh.
That was a good day in lab. It works. There's
very
a fish
cool.
Swimming around the tank. Hasn't formed a pelvis for, maybe thousands of years. It does if you put back in the key sequence.
That is so cool how that works. Holy moly. Isn't that neat? Yeah. And Claire Burr says this is like a science paleontologizing crossover. Well, we're having another one of those on Thursday, Claire Burr. Yeah, I'm going to be doing another crossover stream with Science Streams this upcoming Thursday. It's on the calendar right here. There we go. Thursday Birds Day is Thursday, and Scientist crossover stream with Balint of Science Streams. You should go check out his YouTube page. Shoot, there it is right there. Yeah.
We get experimental science. We're curious, non-judgmental.
For those coming on in tonight, we're going to have a special crossover stream with Danny of Paleontologizing. We're going to be talking fossil science from a geneticist's point of view, as well as from the paleontologist view. And then we're going to reverse it. We're going to talk genetics from a paleontology point of view.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover. There actually is like a lot of common ground.
And talk about the science behind them and see how our fields would interpret the data differently and what that ends up meaning, which I think is going to be really fun. Because I don't know if anyone's done that kind of crossover before. So, but yeah, we had talked about with
Some
Danny,
good editing here. This is great.
My favorite part was that when Danny and I came up with these papers, I'd actually sent him some. He's like, these are the ones I had also picked out. So we're like, okay, we're on
exactly. I was really happy about that. Yeah. And some of these topics actually came up today in discussion too, so I was really excited about that. Talking about predation from theropod dinosaurs on sauropods in the Morrison Formation. Here's a link to this video on YouTube.
And
Yeah.
also, just it was interesting today.
Science is very legit. Yeah. A molecular and systems biologist. He's the real deal. 100%.
End up on 4 legs.
After, like, you know, thousands of generations, possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
It was,
but
it's a good memory, a way to remember, right? It's something that you don't, I mean, or at least I don't actively think about how diet affects body formation and your.
There you go, Copernicus again. Yeah.
It was just such a neat example of like, they're giant. Oh, we said, all right.
I think
dinosaurs have won. First paper is a dinosaur.
Oh wow. Okay. Well. Yeah. Do you want to maybe pick the tooth one first? Anyway, we're gonna be doing more of this on Thursday. It was
Than the regular fruit fly. And it's not that it.
This was a ton of fun.
Our own unique perspective. So Danny's from a paleontology perspective dissecting this neuroscience paper, and I from a neuroscience perspective we're looking at a paleontological paper. And so new segment. I think I've been having a blast with it because I keep having all these questions.
Is great.
And, yeah. And Annabella, welcome in too, Annabella. How are you doing, madame? Long time no see. We will give you your fancy pants shout out to the lovely gamer friendo. Annabella's here. Welcome on in, y'all.
Fish personalities.
The little one is now.
Oh, that's very cool, Hanakana. That's very cool.
Standing up and. Yeah.
Well, shoot, it reminds me of yeah. Let's see. This old interview with Richard Feynman. Was it this one? With physicist Richard Feynman about no, that's not it. He was talking about like different scientists interacting with one another and asking questions, and it was really cool. But I'm trying to find that here. I'm looking through the closed captions trying to... Oh, nope. I think it was about right here.
Well, you might know, for example, about...
Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is it. Excellent. This is one of those reasons why I really, really like doing these discussions with Balint, is that we've got different perspectives on things that come from different areas of training. Like, we've got different scientific fields that we publish in. It's... yeah.
Any requirement that the answer be right.
Here he is talking with, I forget who this guy is here. But he's like a science fiction author.
If I'm interested in... I'm trying to find out not how nature could be, but how nature is. See how what's right. Well, I don't think you'll ever find it, you see. I don't think you'll ever find it. I see. And your idea is to find out what nature could be. What different possibilities. Different possibilities.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah, even if it's wrong.
Common ground is enthusiastically explored. But is it only shared experience and knowledge that forms a bond between working scientists and separates them from
paleontology? Much larger mysteries still remain.
And Gaykeen, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here.
From us, the knowledge that forms a bond between working scientists and separates them from us, the interested layman, or even the artist.
This is it.
Oh.
This is the horizon which marks the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Geo Jim.
Below this level, and out in here, there are dinosaur fossils.
Like a stratigraphy here.
Above this level, in these rocks, there are no dinosaur fossils. So I'm actually standing on the level that marks the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Geo Jim, thank you for the raid.
2006 and their 8 raiders have stumbled below that level.
How did your stream go, Geo Jim? And what did you get up to today? Tell us about it. I'd love to hear about it if you don't mind. I know you can be tired after streaming for a while, but I appreciate you, Geo Jim. What kind of geological topics were you discussing today? We are talking about the evolution of stickleback fish, and then we've got this little tangent here about about science and scientists and talking to one another, collaborating across different fields, and bringing our different perspectives that come from different specialties together to create new insights. And was that Fred Hoyle, really? Kennedy? Huh. Interesting. Fred Hoyle is a bit of a... He had some rather unorthodox, borderline crazy ideas about paleontology, actually, which is weird. Anyway, Geo Jim, thank you for the 24 months of support.
Paleo dance, paleo dance, paleo.
I really appreciate that, Geo Jim. Thank you. Thank you for that. Excellent. An excellent stream. Glad to hear it, Geo Jim. Reviewing topo maps and drawing geologic cross sections today. Very cool, Geo Jim. Very cool. In a little bit, we're gonna get back into this here. We're gonna talk about these fishes, sticklebacks, and how we can actually watch them evolve over time with incredibly high stratigraphic resolution. Like single-year stratigraphic resolution in some cases. It's insane. These fossil sticklebacks from the Miocene of western Nevada. I've actually dug some of these up before with some folks from Berkeley. But we're gonna get back to that in a little bit. But let's talk about this. We were talking about here we go. Yeah.
Is here, and we're doing a new segment trying to dissect.
We're gonna be continuing
our own
these crossover streams.
In our fields,
this year, or this month, this week, excuse me.
So
the day after tomorrow, we're gonna be doing another one of these.
Dissecting this neuroscience paper, and from a neuroscience perspective, we're looking at a paleontological paper, and so new segment. I think.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Richard Feynman, physicist, and I guess this is Fred Hoyle, astronomer and conspiracy theorist, but we're not going to get into that right now. Fred Hoyle had some really wacky ideas about fossil science. He was kind of a creationist. Anyway, we're not going to get into that now.
Yeah, even
but
if
yeah.
it's wrong.
Common ground is enthusiastically explored. But is it only shared experience and knowledge that forms a bond between working scientists and separates them from us, the interested layman, or even the artist?
I mean, scientific fields are becoming so specialized and they're so varied. Are you really saying that you have more in common with, say, a paleontologist or someone in a branch of science very far removed from yours than you would with a playwright or a poet? Absolutely, especially if he's a good paleontologist. Because he's a good paleontologist, he's not just looking at old rocks. He's looking at the history of the Earth. He's looking when he stands and he looks at his own fingers, and he knows it's got 5 bumps. And he thinks of how did it evolve with 5 bumps. It's got the same as whales, and so on. And we keep talking about the importance of the fact that the thumb opposes. Then we can start discussing, is it really so important that the thumb or is it language that has been evolved, the system of symbolism, or the size of...
So you can tell he's a physicist and not a paleontologist by the way he's talking about these things, but that's okay. Like, he's on the right track. It's interesting stuff.
The brain. This is a paleontologist. I can talk about this stuff. That's close to his field. Dolphins have bigger brains than we are. They have a signaling system, and you get interested in that. And you start to discuss all that they know about dolphins, and you complain that the way the United States Navy has been doing its experiments is not right, and we ought to find out more about dolphins. And you go on and on. You talk, those are things of the day. They're just as good, but you can go on and on. When I talk to a playwright or something, I find, because I don't go to plays or something, I don't find it easy to talk to them. I don't get much out of it.
I was going to say, this is because you can talk to scientists in other fields, presumably because you read the scientific magazines, presumably, and hear the scientific gossip. Rather than...
No.
No. Because we don't have to have magazines or gossip. We think originally. We think of a new idea.
Yep. So that's essentially what science is. Science is about exploring the unknown. It's about going to the very edge of our knowledge and trying to push it further. Running tests, making new discoveries, finding new specimens, or finding new ways to study old specimens, or devising new methods of testing old ideas. Science is forever pushing these boundaries, trying to expand the bubble of human knowledge ever further and further. Bubble is not a good analogy, because a bubble pops. But, pushing that frontier forward. Yeah. And original thinking is found outside of science, too, to be honest. And Andusha, you are 1,000,000% correct. And watch as Richard Feynman comes to that realization in real time right here.
We talk to each other, and we try to look at something from a new point of view, and we delight each other in a new point of view. And when you're talking to somebody else who's trying to think of something new, different, and he thinks he's thought about the whale.
This is very, male-centric here. I don't know. Nowadays we would say they. That's how I grew up. Kind of more gender neutral, they, but whatever. This was the 60s,
Whales or the dolphins, and he has some little thing he's thought of that's a little different than the thing that you've thought of. And so when you're talking back and forth, he's excited by your point of view about dreams, and you're excited by his little observation that he has made about dreams, if he has happened to have thought about that. So the point is, and our backgrounds give us a slightly different point of view. I mean, a scientific background. Like I specialize in physics, to say he specializes in paleontology. So his information on dreams might be more deeper, more evolutionary. For example, he might, he can't, we don't have a way of telling, I suppose, about the evolution of dreams, but he might know, for example, about other animals. He might have thought about whether other animals dream and what the signs are, and all other things that I hadn't thought of. I can't make it up now because I'm not the paleontologist, but I believe that, yes, I find always that a good man...
person, researcher.
I take it all back. A good man. I've talked to good men in other fields. There's certain kinds of men in every field.
Now we would say workers or researchers in other fields. We wouldn't say good men.
I can talk to as well as I can talk to a good scientist. I met a historian, or a writer of history, from France once, and I had a marvelous conversation with him. Maurois, his name was Andre Maurois. And then I met an artist, Robert Irwin, who's a very important artist in Los Angeles in modern art, and I could talk to him at the same depth of excitement. So I take it all back. If you give me the right man...
Science. What's science ever done for us? TV off.
Pat Canary, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. See, Anandusha? Told you he'd get around to it, yeah.
Of excitement. So I take it all back. If you give me the right man...
or person.
In any field, I can talk to him. I know what the condition is. That he did whatever he did as far as he can go. That he studied every aspect of it as far as he has stretched himself to the end. He's not a dilettante in any way. And so he talked deep as far as he can go, and therefore he's up against mysteries all the way around the edge.
Yeah.
And awe. And we can talk about mystery and awe. That's what we have in common.
In fact, I actually want to send this segment to Balint real quick, because I feel like this kind of encapsulates what we're trying to do with those crossover streams here.
But how nature is. See how
I don't set any.
And so since I see these other
let's see. Start right there. Copy link. And oh, and Balint has just sent me some papers. He sent me the papers I should be reading. Excellent. Thanks, Blint. And finding some paleo papers. In the meantime, check out this clip. Here, I think I can... Yeah. This is the kind of thing I envision. Let's see. Feynman has 2 N's, right? Or 3 N's? F-E-Y-N-M-A-N-N? Or is it 1 N at the end? Let me know, chat. About curiosity and... There we go. Yeah. Cool. 2 N's total. Fine. 3 N's all in a row. Oh shoot, I spelled it wrong. Oh well. That's okay. Not perfect here. But, yeah, that's basically the kind of thing that Belint and I are trying to do. So make sure that you catch this on Thursday. I tried to say that they've been wrong. Like, this, I think, was maybe my favorite part of the stream. Like, just this kind of way of looking at things differently and like, different ways of examining these ideas. Yeah.
For an... these work.
I appreciate you sending me the actual PDF, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's. I was having a field day trying to.
Oh, can I post that link for you? You bet, Claire Burr.
Mama is a fan. Welcome, and Madame, how are you doing?
There you go.
Today?
Yeah.
So we were able to grab this paper and, essentially, it's trying to prove that rats have imagination, and the way they're doing it is this really neat tricks of imaging, neuroscience, genetics, and mathematical predictions. I thought it was a really elegantly done paper, and I was interested in your reaction. You were saying like, well, yeah, it's you were saying it's almost an obvious kind of thing, and so
I'm looking at this from the perspective of a paleontologist, where I'm always thinking about common descent. I'm thinking about different creatures that share the same ancestors, and I've seen dogs, you know, clearly dreaming in their sleep. So like. Not reviewer 2. Exactly, Javasaurus, yeah. Their eyes go back and forth, and their little legs go. And it's like, that's clearly some kind of, you know, that's a dream that they're having, which, to me, my mind is tied in with imagination. Also, we are not that far from rats in the grand scheme of things. I mean... It's that phylogenetic perspective that I'm offering here. Primates are closely allied with rodents. We belong to a clade called Eucharontoglyra within Mammalia, so, like... We're not that far from critters like... We've got... How many frames per second here? Like 0.0003 or something like that? I don't know what's up with this, but like my video kept freezing. on Balint's stream. I don't know if that's something I can help. I will absolutely try and do that. Otherwise, we might have to have a fundraiser, get Balint and Lita a bigger GPU or something like that. Yeah, seconds per frame. There you go, Steely Dan. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, what I mentioned right there, Eucharontoglyra. We belong to a clade called Eucharontoglyra within Mammalia. So that is, let me show you. Let's go to rodents here, and you'll see they are very, very close. There you go. Rodents, primates, and more. There's this clade in Mammalia. Rodents are some of our closest relatives as primates. There's no reason at all to think that they shouldn't be very similar to us in a lot of different ways, including things like of course rats have imagination. Like, what are you talking about? You know? Of course they do. Primates definitely do. They can devise plans and you know, think about different steps in advance and stuff like that. So of course rodents can do that as well. Why would we ever think otherwise? So like the idea that this was news was kind of strange to me. Because like from a paleontologist perspective, from an evolutionary biologist perspective, it's like, well, of course. Not that far from critters like, you know, rats and mice. That's why we use them for testing. There you go, Harry. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this kind of reminded me of some of the studies I've seen before on like animal behavior and cognition and stuff, and like I feel like some animal behaviorists are really, really reticent to say that animals have things like emotions or thoughts, and it's like, well, why?
So
yeah, animals can only have behaviors. They can't actually have like inner lives, and to me, as a paleontologist, that seems awful weird. You know?
See, to me, the other side seems so weird. And that's
really,
yeah. So I really like this because we are always told like just how you kind of said, like there is no emotion because it's not human, and you can't answer that there is an emotional state. So for example, like in flies,
which is weird because if there's somebody, I don't know, if I'm talking to someone from a different country and they don't speak English and I don't speak their language, I'm speaking to someone, you know, and they only speak Tagalog. I'm not going to go, oh, well, you must not have emotions. You only have behaviors because you can't tell me how you're feeling. Like that, I don't know. It's just, I think that's almost like a defense mechanism that people who work in a laboratory setting with laboratory animals have, and that they can never consider that those critters actually have emotions and feelings and, you know, because then it calls into all kinds of questions like, oh shoot, should we be keeping these animals in captivity and stuff like that? I think we should, don't get me wrong. I'm not calling for an end to that kind of research at all. But just for a change in the way that we think about other living things other than ourselves. We are not we are different from other animals in terms of degree, not in terms of kind, if that makes sense. We are animals ourselves. And we know this from our own evolutionary history. The reason why we share 99.9% of our DNA with a chimpanzee is because we share a recent common ancestor with those critters. And I know that we as human beings like to be all high and mighty, you know, about ourselves, like, oh, well, look at us, we're human. We're not animals. Like, well, no, we are. We're pretty cool animals. We could do some really cool stuff. But it doesn't mean that we're like a different kind of thing, because we're absolutely not. And if we were, creatures like lab rats would not be a good analogy for humans. So like somebody in the chat was pointing out, I think it was Harry in the chat was pointing out that that's why we use lab rats as like a model organism for studying, you know, the human body's reaction to different drugs and stuff like that. It's like we'll use rats in some of those clinical trials because they're very similar to us. So it's like we can allow animals to be very similar to us. Animals like rats And everything except for stuff related to our brains? No, we've got a lot of the same brain structure. It's the same underlying parts there, just modified in us. So of course rats have imagination, you know? Yeah. And Anakin Gabriel says, hello, yes, makes perfect sense. Welcome back, Anakin. Good to have you here. Yeah. And maybe we're anthropomorphizing babies too much, says Anaconda. Yeah. Their brain isn't elaborate enough yet for emotions. There you go. They only have behaviors. They can't have personalities or imaginations. Yeah. But yeah. Because if it's about how close they are to us, we do everything on pigs. No, rats are closer to us than pigs are, Javasaurus. Way closer, way closer. No, rats are rodents, so they belong to the same clade Euarchontoglira that we do. If we're gonna go out to pigs, that's gonna take us further out into the Artiodactyla, even-toed ungulate animals. So we're a lot closer to rats on the Tree of Life than we are to pigs. Pigs are way over there, but we belong to this same clade, Euarchontoglira, with rats. What about sheep? Sheep are even... sheep might be about the same distance as pigs. They're also even-toed ungulates, artiodactyls. Yeah, so they're going to be over there, not too far from the pigs. Yeah, sheep and pigs are probably equally distantly related from us, both of them. Yeah. And Anadusha says, there are people/scientists who claim that humans actually just have behaviors and that having personality is an illusion. I would kind of go in the opposite direction of that, Anadusha. I would say that personality and behaviors and preferences are like... I think those are kind of the same thing. They're on the same spectrum. You know? Yeah. Like, animals clearly have different personalities. Hanaconda was talking about how fish have different personalities, and we watched a TED Talk about that a little while ago, too. And you can have, like, different genes that code for different personality types and stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah. Anadusha says, I'm a realist about personalities and such as well, as a behavioral biologist. There you go, Anadusha. You're a behavioral biologist, really? Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're in agreement. Yeah. And then it says humans are rats. No, we're not. We're not. We're different. Like, we're not the same species, but we are related to one another, and we share a great number of similarities. You know? Yeah. But yeah, pigs can be better suited if you're studying organs, for example, blood flow. Oh yeah, they can have more similarities in certain areas, Javasaurus, but in terms of closeness, in terms of relatedness, pigs are a lot further than us from rats. Rats are much closer to us in terms of their phylogenetic relationship. Like when they had a recent common ancestor. So let's try and find the recent common ancestor of pigs and humans. I guess that would be here. It would be 72 million years ago. Our ancestors split from the ancestors of pigs. So you got to go back 72 million years to that common ancestor. Whereas... No, hang on. 85 million years ago. Sorry, for Boroeutheria. 85 million years ago. We're 10 million years closer to rats, I guess you could say, than we are to pigs and sheep. To the artiodactyls. So we share a more recent common ancestor with rodents, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And birds, yeah, birds are super, super distant from us, Patrick Crusader. If we want to go to where birds split from our mammal ancestors, we got to go all the way back to the base of Amniota, 320 million years ago. Does that make sense? Yeah. And Filmsy says, what do our reproductive systems look so different? When you mean ours, who do you mean, Filmsy? Who are you comparing humans to in that case? Clarify that, and then I'll know what you're asking. And is it true that we have more similarities read genetics with ferrets than with mice? No, that's not true, Confused Echidna. We've got more similarities with mice. Yeah. Because ferrets can catch human diseases, etc. more easily than can mice. Are you sure, Confused Echidna? Are you sure about that? Because I know a lot of human diseases can also be picked up by rats and mice. Ferrets might just be more susceptible to certain kinds of diseases. They might have a less sophisticated immune system, or it could be like a weird fluke. Sometimes you have coincidences. Like with pig hearts being transplanted into people, or valves from pig hearts, or something like that. That's often like a sizing issue more than it is anything else. Like, we're not as close to pigs as we are to, like, chimps or something. But chimp hearts, their valves are different sizes, so they don't fit in very well, you know? It's like you're trying to replace a part on your Honda, and, you know, you've got a Honda Civic, you try a part from a Honda Pilot, it doesn't work, but you can find a part from a Volkswagen Jetta, and that works, even though it's a different manufacturer. It just happens to be the right size, you know? Sometimes you get stuff like that. Yeah. And hey, Balint, how are you doing? I just sent you an email with a clip that we just looked at. But yeah, really looking forward to our next crossover stream on Thursday. Very excited about that. Yeah. Oh, humans versus mammals versus birds versus reptiles. Well, it would make sense that humans and mammals would have very similar... Well, humans are a kind of mammal, so, like, we've got that basic mammal reproductive system, which is going to be very different from that of birds. Birds being a kind of reptile. Yeah. And feeling better, fought off the food poisoning. I'm glad to hear it, Science Streams. Very nice. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Anyway. Really looking forward to more of this, Bullet. And,
we did this experiment where if you incubate them with parasitic wasps...
There's a link if anybody wants to see that.
Really erratically.
Yeah, go thumbs up this video, chat. I just gave you the link. And yeah, maybe leave a comment or something, too. Let's have the algorithm pick that up. I'd love to see these get some more attention on YouTube. Yeah. And Filmsy says, why do cats have a spike penis? Oh, Filmsy, that's... So the reproductive organs are often something that evolves really, really quickly. Like, ours are very different from gorillas, for instance. Gorillas have super, super teeny tiny ones. That's just something that evolves really quickly, and that's, like, maybe a mechanism in population speciating. As, like, if the reproductive gear changes, then you can very easily, if you're no longer passing genes back and forth to each other, you can very easily become different species very quickly because you become reproductively isolated. So reproductive gear is one of those things that, like, it changes pretty darn quick. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But, and I wonder if that happened with dinosaurs. That stuff doesn't really fossilize, Filmsy, so it's tough to say. We really don't know what kind of reproductive gear dinosaurs would have had beyond a basic assumption that they would have had, like, you know, a cloacal system, like modern birds. Yeah. Anyway, and Miss Yvette says, is that shirt from the Oakland Zoo? No, it is not. I made this shirt myself. I hand printed this. Yeah. That is a Colombian mammoth right there. I designed and printed this, I should add. That's a Colombian mammoth. There was a Colombian mammoth that was discovered right here in, or right nearby, where I am right now, in Oakland, California. When they were digging out the the foundations for the Oakland Coliseum. For this big sports arena here. It was back in like the 50s. Yeah. Yep. Before the Oakland Coliseum was built, sports were played in fields all over Oakland. Yeah. So during the Pleistocene, the Coliseum site was a swamp with a creek running through it. During construction of the stadium in August 1964, a pair of mammoth tusks was found 28 feet below the ground. A professor, this is Don Savage from, oh no, that's not Don Savage, never mind. But Don Savage was the professor from UCMP. He and his students also found the remains of a giant ground sloth there. Savage proposed calling the sports complex the Mammoth Coliseum, and have to make a life-size statue of a mammoth for display there. I guess they turned him down. What a mistake. But yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I didn't hear it was tusks. I heard it was a femur. But yeah, I don't know. No, it was tusks. I've seen them before at the museum in Berkeley. But yeah. Back when Oakland still had a baseball team, says Gimpleg. Oh, yeah, they're gone, aren't they? Yeah. They didn't name the team the Mammoths? They should have, Cobraven, yeah. But yeah. Anyway, where were we? We were talking about stickleback fish. Let's get back to our sticklebacks and talk about their evolution. What a cool group of critters.
Kingsley's team had found the broken switch that caused fish from one lake to be without spines. But that isn't the only place one can find spineless sticklebacks.
Nope.
When he looked at fish from other lakes, he found something remarkable.
If you look at a fish that's lost its pelvis in Scotland or Iceland, Alaska, or British Columbia, the same switch has been thrown away.
And Miss Yvette, thank you for that gift sub there.
Gifted
I do appreciate it, Miss Yvette. Thank you.
Way over and over again whenever the fish have evolved the loss of a pelvis.
Given the same selective conditions, evolution can and does repeat itself, right down to the level of the same gene and genetic switch.
Pretty neat.
And amazingly, it appears that the same adaptation has also occurred
hey, Lordy.
In the much deeper past.
How are you doing? Welcome. Yeah! Lordy, this is where I did field work. Long before I met you, long before I'd even heard of Twitch.tv, I did some field work with a crew from Berkeley, near Fernley, Nevada. Yeah, this is where I was digging there.
$10 million years ago, this Nevada desert was a lake full of sticklebacks.
And there is Mike Bell right there. I saw him speak at Berkeley this morning. Gave a really, really cool talk on stickleback evolution.
Their fossil remains have long fascinated Mike Bell.
You got to start on stickleback from their fossils.
Every year, many stickleback would die, and their bodies would drift to the bottom and be covered with sediment. The flesh would rot off the bones, and very often would leave a beautiful intact skeleton.
Look at that. Oof. Gorgeous.
Early on, Bell realized that there were two distinct types of sticklebacks preserved here.
Some of the fish had a really big pelvic bone behind the head, and other fish didn't have that bone, but a little tiny pelvic bone.
Interesting stuff. Very interesting.
One might expect one or the other to be favored by natural selection. So why were they both here? This quarry has 1,000 sediment layers in every foot of rock. 1,000 years of annual deposits.
It's a cool animation there. And so we can actually, we've got super high resolution data on how these fish are changing because we've got all of these layers like this. You just had continuous slow deposition at a regular rate. And this sort of thing is pretty rare, but very, very special and very cool.
Record of change like that is an evolutionary biologist's dream.
Oh, yeah.
To move from one end to the other is to move through time. By painstakingly checking fossil pelvis size over a 20,000-year period, Bell made a surprising discovery.
It's got a fish, pretty nice fish.
Fish with a full pelvis had arrived suddenly, perhaps when some geological event briefly opened the lake to the sea.
Yep, that's exactly what we think happened there. So the reduced pelvis is advantageous when you are in a closed freshwater environment, but suddenly you've got a sea level rise, and those full pelvis fish come in from the ocean.
Yet, within a few thousand years, almost all sticklebacks here lacked pelvic spines.
Yep. Pretty cool.
And in Alaska, we're seeing exactly the same phenomenon taking place, but it's 10 million years later.
The same animal, at two distant moments in time, undergoing the same transformation.
Super neat. So it happened back in the Miocene 10 million years ago, and it's happening today again. It's really, really cool. And like we see this in other lakes with stickleback fish around the world also. It's the same process that happens. Like, it's a predictable, repeatable thing. It's super neat.
In both cases pretty quickly, and in all likelihood, be the same evolving switch.
Yeah. Isn't that cool, Tip Cheerio? Yeah.
This is a really exciting time to be a biologist. Only 10 years ago, we couldn't get at the DNA of stickleback in a detailed way. And now you can combine that kind of information with natural history. We can link up genetics to development, development to phenotypes, phenotypes to environments. We can look at change through time in the fossil record. We can put together the whole package.
As biologists do just that, they're finding that the most common mechanism driving the seemingly endless diversity of animal bodies is mutations in the switches that regulate developmental control genes.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Very, very cool. It was really neat being able to see Mike Bell talk about this today, and who knows, maybe in the future, once we get things a little bit more sorted out here, I can ask him to make a guest appearance on this channel. No promises, but yeah, that'd be really neat. And here is a link. Excellent video, like these always are. Yeah. PC Snort says, wow, I wonder if this is a specific adaptation this fish has developed to survive rapidly changing environment. I mean, yes. We talked about that at the beginning, Casey Snowart. Yeah. Here, let me bring you back to that part because it.
Let's protect our fossils because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
Claude Badley, what a great name. Thank you for subscribing. Holy moly. Thank you, thank you. Extraordinary. I really appreciate that. That helps us with our Partner Plus push. So thank you very, very much for that.
Really?
And welcome to the channel.
No expense.
And Murph, thank you for gifting Hanaconda Aquaponics. I appreciate that, Murph. I really do. Thank you, Murph. And welcome Claude Badley to Paleontologizing. It's great to have you here. Excellent stuff. Yeah. But yeah, when we're talking about these fishes and the changes that they undergo, so sticklebacks like this, they're originally marine fish, so they live out in the open ocean.
Their ancestors lived in the sea.
Yeah.
In the ocean, there are lots of large predatory fish.
So this will answer your question, Casey.
No place to hide.
So, sticklebacks evolved body armor, bony plates on their side, and long, sharp spines coming off their pelvis and back.
Yep.
They're generally easy for predatory fish to catch, but they're not easy to swallow.
So that's why they can survive better. Because of
Spines
those
are a liability.
armor plates and
There are
spines.
no largemouth predators here. But there are hungry dragonfly larvae that grab sticklebacks by their spines.
Yeah.
So, pelvic spines actually reduce fitness and lessen a fish's chances of surviving and reproducing.
You get that? Normally, in the open ocean, the spines are good to have.
Natural selection
Not in a lake.
has been at work.
In a lake, they can get you killed.
This fish, there's practically nothing there.
In just a few thousand years, these fish underwent a dramatic skeletal change.
Yep.
Completely losing their pelvic spines.
That is wild. They went from this to this. So they also got smaller overall. I like how they actually scaled this appropriately. But yeah, but losing those spines and the pelvis and those spines up top as well. So there's less for the dragonfly larvae to grab onto. It's a beautiful example of evolution in action. Really, really cool stuff. Yeah. It's just a really sped up example of selective breeding in an entire population. I mean, it's not artificial selection, it's natural selection. So like, in the same way that people breed dogs with different characteristics, here you have nature specially breeding these fish for different characteristics because the ones that don't have those characteristics get eaten and don't pass on their genes. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. So neat stuff. Neat stuff. Yeah. And yeah, Hanaconda. Yeah, dragonfly larvae. Ooh, boy. Yeah. Like turning a Doberman into a mini Doberman over a very short span, but without human intervention. Exactly, Casey Snowart. Exactly. That's natural selection there. Beautiful. Yeah. And conversation about elephants and tusk size. There's another HHMI video about that, actually. Yeah. Selection for tusklessness in elephants. Yeah. And Murph says, I wonder why there are no similar oceanic predators. Well, it's other fishes with large mouths that eat sticklebacks in the ocean. And the spines were an effective way of deterring them. But in the open ocean, you don't have places for dragonfly larvae to hang on to. You know, you don't have sticks and branches and stuff that are submerged in the water. So in a lake, it's just a different habitat. You've got different predators. Yeah.
Oh, there's coming.
For over 40 years, Joyce Poole has been studying elephant populations in Africa. She's one of the world's experts on elephant behavior and communication. Her work has taken her to Gorongosa National Park in Mozambique, where she's working with local scientists.
Oh, the big guy is coming out, right?
He's the same guy anyway on the camera traps who was in the farms. I'm studying the status of the Gorongosa elephants, looking at how they have and are recovering from a period of heavy poaching.
Oof. Yeah. Here, let me check on the 3D printer because it just made a noise. Oh, not too shabby. Okay. Good. I'm printing a book holder for the new streaming setup at my new place that I'm moving to. And it's going very well so far, looks like. Ugh, this filament makes these like spider webs across. This is wooden filament. But yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be nice when it's done. Anyway, poaching of elephants. Elephants, you know, in the wild, when they're full grown, don't have many predators. Because they are the largest animal in their environment. But unfortunately, humans are a major predator of elephants. And they're dirty cheaters. Using a gun to go after an elephant? That's not hardly fair, if you ask me.
Many of the large mammals and over 90% of Gorongosa's elephants were killed during a civil war that lasted from 1977 to 1992.
So even though it's 20 years, we can see that there's real scars on this population.
Elefantes de Gorongosa são muito especiais. Os mais
Murph says, haven't we been predators of them for thousands of years? It's true, Murph, yeah, but guns make it all the more severe, you know? Yeah. Casey says, elephants are my favorite animals. I hate what's happening to them. Been obsessed with learning about forest elephants lately. Yeah. They've been recently recognized as a different species. Yeah.
Os adultos ainda se lembram muito bem do passado, da guerra, dos guerreiros que caçavam marfim passado.
The older ones still remember what happened in the past. The war. The soldiers that hunted elephants for their ivory.
The scientists are monitoring a peculiar characteristic, one that they have also seen in other African parks. Some elephant populations seem to be missing their tusks.
Yeah. Wild.
Since 2008, the Gorongosa Restoration Project has been protecting wildlife in the park and monitoring their recovery. The elephant population is slowly growing back to a healthy size.
Eu acho que elefantes jogam papel muito
I think elephants play a very important role in the ecosystem. They do. Their decisions, picking a particular habitat, how they use the habitat, whether it is for food or just for refuge, all of this influences
By
them.
studying the recovery of Gorongosa's elephants, Poole observed that many females lacked tusks.
The first day I was here in 2011, I met a group of 50 elephants. Most of them were tuskless. So I knew kind of straight away when I came here that there was a high proportion of tusklessness.
Tusks are a pair of elongated teeth, the incisors, that continue to grow throughout an elephant's lifetime.
2 front teeth.
Elephants use their tusks to strip bark off trees and dig holes for water and minerals.
Oh, that's really cool. You don't often see that in action, but check out what this elephant's doing with
Dig
her
holes
tusks.
for water and minerals.
Yeah. And the males fight with them.
Males use them in contests against other males to win over females.
Elephants use their tusks all the time. For males, tusks are really important because males are fighting one another for access to females. And if you don't have tusks, you risk being
this is Mozambique
severely
anaconda.
wounded. So there's a very strong selective pressure among
Oh,
males.
sorry, never mind. You're talking about something else.
Because tusks are so critical to the survival of males, tuskless males are extremely rare. But a proportion of female elephants are typically tuskless. In populations less affected by poaching, tuskless females are only 2 to 6% of the total number.
Tusklessness, just like having tusks, is a natural trait, and it's inherited. Like bigger ears or smaller ears or green eyes or blue eyes, it's an inherited characteristic.
During the Civil War in Mozambique, large tusked elephants in Gorongosa were killed for their ivory, which was sold to buy arms and ammunition. More of the tuskless female elephants survived.
Here in Gorongosa, among the older age class, that is the ones who were already adults during
Sparky
the war
Pugwash,
when
welcome,
there was
welcome.
heavy poaching, they are 50% tuskless.
Wow.
Poaching selected for tuskless females.
It ends
Wow.
up with a higher proportion of tuskless animals who then reproduce and tend to produce tuskless offspring.
Surveys conducted by Poole and colleagues indicated that 33% of females 10 to 20 years old are tuskless.
That is a really high proportion. The origin of the Danny says films. Are you referencing the fact that I'd never had any wisdom teeth? Those are different from elephant tusks. It's a different kind of tooth. Tusks are the incisors, these teeth in front. You know, all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. Those are the incisors. Wisdom teeth are different. Another good example of like human evolution where, shoot, when we went upright and our jaw shortened. We didn't have room for all these teeth anymore, and so they have to be removed. That's like this weird holdover from when we needed more teeth because we had a longer jaw and stuff. But yeah. You still got your wisdom teeth, just not in your jaw anymore. That's cool. They let you keep them, Anandusha. Yeah. They let you keep the teeth. Oh no. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. I never had any wisdom teeth. Well, I have like 1/4 of one of them or something like that, but it's probably never gonna have to come out. You know, I'm, how old, chat? I'm 21 years old at this point. Thank you for not laughing. And, I've never had to have my wisdom teeth removed, so they're probably not gonna have to come out at all, you know? Yeah. Everyone is 21 years old. On Twitch, it's true, Pfizer. Yeah. Anyway, that's an example of a mutation like that. There are mutations like this in any diverse population. And one of those mutations in elephants is naturally not having tusks. And in areas where elephants are killed for their tusks, they're selected against having tusks. So like tuskless elephants, ones that happen to have that mutation's a big advantage for them, and they're allowed to survive because people don't kill them for their tusks. So they can pass on those tuskless genes to their offspring, and those tuskless genes spread throughout that population there. Yeah.
No tuskless males have been found.
Any animal who's under 20 was born after the war. So they are
nice,
not
not the
a
brain.
consequence
Cool.
of poaching, or at least not directly, but they would be a consequence of maybe being born of
I
tuskless
agree, Sparky
mothers.
Pogosh, yeah. Yeah.
Poole has observed large tuskless populations in other African countries where elephants are heavily poached to support the ivory trade.
Some of like the Selous.
Kleber says advanced humans. We prefer the term mutated, bizarre mutants, Kleber. No, that is a mutation, to not have wisdom teeth, just like not having tusks. That's a mutation. So we're all mutants in one way or another. No one is, you know, there is no like ideal non-mutant human. We've all got various degrees of genetic uniqueness, and we've all got little mutations that we inherited from our parents, or maybe those were errors in replication from our parents. But yeah, that's just one that I happen to have. Weirdos, says Kleber. There you go. Yeah, every trait is a mutation. I mean, when you go back far enough, yeah, Oscar Jr., that's true. Yeah. And Casey Snort says, I suppose that's why genetic mutations exist, right? To keep us flexible. Clones don't seem very survivable. They're not. We talked about this extensively last week with those Cavendish bananas and how eventually they will go extinct because they're all genetic clones of one another. And if there's a particular strain of fungus that's really good at attacking them, they have no survivability. They'll just all get wiped out if that fungus spreads. Because they don't have that strength and diversity, you know, that non-clones have. So yeah. Anyway, but my grandma's banana bread recipe, Casey Snowart, that Well, depending on when your grandmother wrote that banana bread recipe, that might have been for a previous variety of banana, called the Michel Gros banana, I believe. Bananas in the past tasted totally different because it was a different kind of variety, but those were also all clones from each other, and they all got wiped out. Yeah.
In southern Tanzania, Queen Elizabeth.
Well, maybe we'll watch a video on that next.
Populations went through heavy poaching in the 80s, and Salou again now, and they have also very high levels of tusklessness. In this day and age, now, with all the poaching that's going on, actually, the tuskless elephants are at an advantage because they are not being targeted for their tusks.
There you go.
The insatiable demand for ivory is driving complex changes in elephant populations. Not only are elephant numbers decreasing across the African continent due to habitat loss and poaching, but elephant traits are also changing as a result of this ongoing threat.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. Here is a link to this video right here. HHMI does such wonderful videos like that. There we go. Let's see. The world's most popular banana may go extinct. Big business from Business Insider 2 years ago. Let's take a look at this. So this is a business channel on YouTube. Business Insider is a business and finance publication. We'll see how far they get into the actual evolution of stuff here, but
The
yeah.
world's most popular banana may be on the verge of extinction.
Similar to humans, bananas are also facing a pandemic.
99% of bananas exported to developed countries are just one group, called the Cavendish.
They're
And the
clones of
Cavendish
each other.
is vulnerable to tropical race 4, or Panama disease, a fungus that's now ravaging banana farms across the globe.
So now you can compare this is tropical race 4 and a Cavendish banana, then the plant looks very healthy.
One scientist recently developed a line of Cavendish that is resistant to TR4. It was genetically modified.
In Europe, the GMs are under regulation, so we cannot use it.
That's an incredibly short-sighted thing. You know, Europe has got a lot of very sensible regulations. This is not one of them. It's extraordinarily ignorant, anti-science. Crops are by definition genetically modified. That's why they're crops, you know? Try eating some original maize, you know, like corn. Anyway.
Scientists like Fernando had to start from scratch to find a solution, and they're working against the clock.
And there you go, Blanket Monsters, yeah.
TR4 is not stopped,
It would wipe out Cavendish.
and it's already happening.
Este es un área de foco, una tasa de 1.640 plantas por hectárea, podemos estar en 500 plantas en este foco. No existe la bala de plata, hay que atacarlo desde diferentes frentes, porque no existe otra manera de poder contenerlo
Isn't that like all of our modern food? It's true, Casey's not right, yeah.
We're facing the collapse of a $25 billion Cavendish industry. So how did we get here? And can we save one of the world's most consumed fruits before it's too late? You probably know the Cavendish banana.
You can find this type of banana in every supermarket around the world.
They're so popular.
Chances are the majority of people watching right now, unless you regularly eat plantains or something like that, you've maybe never had another kind of banana except for this one. This is the banana to you and to me. I've had plantains and stuff like that, which are a little bit different, but I've never had like another variety of like grocery store banana like this. This is the only one, basically.
Popular because they're yummy, they look nice, and they ripen as they transport.
It's high yielding, so it's got quite a thick skin, and so travels well and tastes pretty good. Comes in its own package.
But there's a problem.
They are sterile. They don't have seeds.
No seeds means Cavendish bananas are clones of each other. So the only way to propagate them is in vitro, or by taking new growths called suckers from the base of an older plant. But since they're all genetic copies, Cavendish are really vulnerable to disease.
The domino effect, if you have everything else
They have
wrong
seeds.
with
There you
just
go,
one clone,
Coho Warren.
one
So those seeded bananas will not be clones. they reproduce via seeds, and so they'll have genetic diversity in them, and they'll be more resistant to things like different fungi and stuff like that. Yeah.
Disease can kill everything, plant by plant.
That's exactly what's happening with TR4, one of the deadliest plant diseases out there. The fungus doesn't spread to humans, but it does eventually kill the banana plant, so no more fruit grows. Scientists guess the fungus probably started somewhere in Southeast Asia in the 90s and quickly spread across the globe. Then in 2019, it hit Latin America.
Oof.
Combined with the Caribbean, that area grows 75% of the world's bananas.
Primero una reacción de mucho de impacto porque el fusario no estaba ni cerca en el continente.
All of a sudden it appears in our province, in La Guajira, one of the most important places in Colombia for banana
To
production.
make sure the fungus doesn't spread, farms across Colombia have implemented biosecurity measures.
Wow.
Eva Norte 2 was one of the first farms in the country to detect TR4.
Ugh.
Workers wash down and disinfect the underside of any car that comes in, just in case there's infected soil hiding in the treads.
Entonces cualquier parte de nuestro indumentaria que entre en contacto con
Anything that we're wearing that's in contact with the soil can become a way to transfer the fungus. Workers leave their shoes here, they turn around and put on an overall, put on the rubber boots, with which they enter the farm. Here on the left, we consider the dirty zone, and on this side is the clean zone. It's a clean zone because it's controlled as you go in and out of the farm.
Antonio's team built cement paths throughout the farm, so on their way to harvest, workers aren't walking on open soil.
y hemos visto drásticamente cómo se reduce la
How
cantidad
miserable
de
to live
suelo
in
que se
fear of
libera a las
fungus. I
botas.
mean, yeah, as we hearken,
Once
yeah.
they've reached the area ready to be harvested, workers walk through a sanitizing footbath made of ammonium.
En promedio aquí en La Guajira un pediluvio cubre entre 35 a 40 hectáreas. Donde hay focos en esas zonas colocamos pediluvios
Yeah.
adicionales
This is
para
inside the
cubrir
EU,
la
Hannah
entrada y la-
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, this is my huge frustration with all of this, like, fear-mongering about genetic modification of crops in the EU. It's not genetic modification that's the problem. It's these predatory practices of these huge agribusiness conglomerates. Once again, it's corporate greed that's the issue. You know, it's not the science, you know? Yeah, copywriting seats, exactly, Tip Cheerio. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, why are so many people so easily offended about X? You mean in algebra, Codmos? I don't know what you're talking about, Codmos. Solve for X? What do you mean? You got to be more specific.
Here to fight with monsters. We came here to find fossils.
Synapse, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. X equals meaning anything. Are you asking why people have emotions, Cosmos? I don't understand what you're... Yeah. I'm not sure I understand your question.
la salida a esas áreas de foco.
Out in the field, workers measure the banana fingers to make sure they're ready to harvest. They're usually ready about 12 to 13 weeks after the fruit stem shows up. One worker cuts down a 65-pound bundle, while the other catches it and carries it to the cableway.
Huh. Anyway, what I'm actually interested in here is, like, the science rather than... Hey, let's take a look at this from SciShow.
Here at SciShow HQ, we have a little food area for the employees. Sometimes there's donuts, sometimes there's nuts, sometimes some dried mango. But the one thing that never sticks around and is gone as fast as we can buy it is the wonderful, beautiful, noble banana. Unfortunately for us, they may not be around forever.
Yeah.
First, the good. Bananas are healthy, packed with nutrition and energy. They fit in your hand and give nice little cues when they're perfectly ripe and are easy to peel and eat. Shocking statistic, the banana is Walmart's #1 selling item, not the potato chip, not Coca-Cola, not 50 Shades of Grey, bananas. They appear to be so perfect
Makes
for
sense.
human consumption that Kirk Cameron...
Do they sell them individually? How do they count that, is what I want to know. what is considered one unit of banana? Is it one single banana, or is it a bunch of bananas, or is it, how are they counting that?
And attempted to use them to prove the existence of God. Of course, this banana was not created
That was
by
pretty
God
funny, actually.
or really even nature. Bananas,
Yep.
at least the ones that you see at the store, were created by people. Don't get me wrong,
Yep.
there are wild banana plants, lots of them. They're native to South and Southeast Asia.
I remember
and there
that too,
are
Lenina,
dozens of
yeah.
species and thousands of varieties. They're just not the ones we eat. Some of those species, as you might suspect, have seeds, because that's what...
And actually, in fact, that is like worth pulling up just by itself. It is so funny. Yeah.
Really spectacular, spared no expense.
Here it is here. And thank you, Science Streams, for gifting Alex Vixen.
Sub to Alex Vixen.
I appreciate that,
We
Belinda.
have
Thank you
given
very, very
65
much.
gift subs in the channel.
Yeah. Here, take a look at this.
Hold this, Kurt. Behold the atheist's nightmare. Now, if you study a well-made banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 ridges. On the close side, 2 ridges. If you get your hand ready to grip a banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 grooves, on the close side 2 grooves. The banana and the hand are perfectly made one for the other. You'll find the maker of the banana, Almighty God, has made it with a non-slip surface. It has outward indicators of inward contents: green, too early; yellow, just right; black, too late. Now, if you go to the top of the banana, you'll find, as with the soda can makers, they placed a tab at the top. So God has placed a tab at the top. When you pull the tab, the contents don't squirt in your face. You'll find the wrapper, which is biodegradable, has
You lost a bet? I mean,
Notice
yeah.
how gracefully it sits over the human hand. Notice it has a point at the top for ease of entry. It's just the right shape for the human mouth. It's chewy, easy to digest, and it's even curved toward the face to make the whole process so much easier.
Oh,
Seriously,
boy.
the whole of creation testifies to the genius of God's creative hand.
Bananas do not occur in nature. This is a man-made object. They have been specially bred. They've been genetically modified via selective breeding over thousands of years. You know? Like, the incredible ignorance and the just really impressive confidence about being so wrong. It's astonishing. It really is. But that's par for the course when we're talking about creationists. Yeah. And Cosmo says, as a creationist, even I recognize that science supporting creationism is more so a pipe dream, right? You're getting there, Cosmos, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm glad you're coming to this realization. Absolutely. You could have chosen 1,000 other things to make that point. Yeah, it's like in, has anybody here ever read Candide? I read this back in high school. But there's this character in this novel, Dr. Pangloss, and he talks about how I don't know if I'm able to find a video on this. There's this professor who's, you know, he's supposed to be a foolish guy, a character in this story, Dr. Pangloss, and he basically makes this same argument about bananas, but he makes them about eyeglasses and stuff. He says, "It is demonstrable," said he, "that things cannot be otherwise than as they are. For as all things have been created for some end, they must necessarily be created for the best end. Observe, for instance, that the nose is formed for spectacles for eyeglasses. Therefore we wear spectacles. The legs are visibly designed for stockings. Accordingly, we wear stockings. Stones were made to be hewn to construct castles. Therefore my lord has a magnificent castle, for the greatest baron in the province ought to be the best lodged. Swine were intended to be eaten. Therefore we eat pork all the year round. And they who assert that everything is right do not express themselves correctly. They should say that everything is best." This idea that, like, oh yeah, well, you know, the reason that we have a nose is because, well, clearly that was created to put eyeglasses on, you know, to rest there on the nose. The reason that we have legs is, well, shoot, they fit pants perfectly, you know? It's just getting things exactly backwards. And you'd be astonished at the number of people walking around in everyday life who kind of have these assumptions and they've never really questioned them. You know? Yeah. So anyway. Yeah. Blanket Monster says, sounds like what a parent would say after their child keeps asking a lot of questions. Yeah, it's almost like a Just So story, like some sort of Rudyard Kipling thing. You know? But like even dumber than that, somehow. Yeah. Like, there's a story by Rudyard Kipling about how the elephant got its long nose, and it's because a crocodile bit it and stretched it out. That's why elephants have trunks. That's called a Just So story. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of Just So stories in the world. And you see them in a lot of non-scientific fields. You see them in things like some kinds of philosophy, economics, theology, stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of what science is about, is like moving beyond just so stories and actually coming up with ways to test these ideas. To figure out what actually happened, you know? Oh, yeah. And yeah, Just So Casey Snowart, that sounds like a cool project. I think I did mine on how the porcupine fish got its spikes. Nice. In 5th grade, I mean. Yeah. Not a graduate level course, perhaps. Although, shoot, I know some grad students who could benefit from that kind of thinking. You know? Interesting, Cosmos. I'm not aware of that poem or that film. Yeah. Not like yesterday, huh? Okay, so yeah. Anyway, where were we? Let's get back to bananas.
Fruits are their fleshy bodies containing seeds. So you might wonder, why have you never eaten a banana seed? Well,
yeah.
Kinda. In cultivated bananas, the seeds have pretty much stopped existing. If you look closely, you can see tiny black specks. Those are all that's left, and they're not fertile seeds. If you plant them, nothing grows. Today's bananas are sterile mutants. I'm not trying to be mean, that's just the truth. Unless you were alive in the 1960s, hats off to all those older SciShow viewers out there, every banana you have ever eaten was pretty much genetically identical. This is...
Oh, it was that recently? 1960s? Well, shoot, we've got chatters here who were, I think, born in the 1860s, so they might remember the pre-Cavendish bananas, you know?
Is a Cavendish, the virtually seedless variety that we all eat today, but it wasn't always our banana of choice. Until the 1960s, everyone was eating the same banana. It was just a different banana, the Gros Michel.
And Xander Jiggle says, my parents remember eating the old bananas, the ones that tasted like banana candy. Ooh, cool. Yeah, maybe I should ask my grandparents.
A bigger, sweeter fruit with thicker skin. You might notice that banana-flavored...
Copernicus Cat says the Gros Michel came out before the Cavendish. Exactly.
In the 1960s, everyone was eating the same banana. It was just a different banana, the Gros Michel. A bigger, sweeter fruit with thicker skin. You might notice that banana-flavored things don't really taste like bananas. Well, they do. They taste like the Gros Michel.
That is exactly what a Basil 1XA just said. This is why fake banana doesn't taste like banana. It really does, just not new bananas. Yeah, exactly.
Genetic monotony of the Gros Michel crop was its undoing. A fungicide-resistant pathogen called Panama disease began infecting the Gros Michel crop. By the time growers understood how vulnerable their crops were, the Gros Michel variety was all but extinct. The entire banana industry had to be retooled for the Cavendish. Since they're seedless, the only way to reproduce them is to transplant part of the plant stem. And for the last 50 years, we've been good with the Cavendish. because it's more resistant to the Panama disease. However, somewhat terrifyingly, a strain of Panama disease that affects the Cavendish strain that we all eat has been identified. A global monoculture of genetically identical individuals is a beautiful sight to a pathogen. The fungus only has to figure out how to infect and destroy a single individual, and suddenly there's no diversity to stop it or even slow it down. That's led to a lot of scientists worrying about or even predicting the outright demise of the Cavendish. This wonderful, most popular of fruits might completely cease existence. The good news is we now have a much better understanding of genetics, epidemics, fungi, and pathology. Scientists and growers have already taken steps to protect the Cavendish. Some growers are creating genetically different bananas that might replace the Cavendish crop if it fails, while scientists are attempting to genetically engineer Cavendish plants with immunity to Panama disease. Plus, we learned a lot from the Gros Michel debacle. Infected fields are quickly being destroyed, and new crops are grown from pathogen-free, lab-grown plant stock. So thanks to the people who work tirelessly to grow and harvest bananas and bring them to us so that we can offer them inexpensively to our employees. And thanks to the growers and scientists working tirelessly to make sure that they don't go the way of the Gros Michel. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions...
Good stuff. Here's a link to that video right there. So this is why, again, this is why evolution is important to understand. And honestly, this is just, you know, 852, number 852 on the list of reasons why evolution should be taught more properly in schools, because this stuff is really, really important. It will affect your everyday life. It does affect your everyday life. Oh, yeah. And Coho Warren, I agree with you there, yeah. And so some folks are trying to keep bananas around. Few, crisis averted. I mean, we'll see what happens, Casey Snowart. We'll see what happens. The thing is, Panama disease, that particular fungus, maybe that can be stopped, but another fungus can arise like that and sweep through the world's banana populations if they're all genetically identical to one another. That's the hazard of having cloned bananas. You know, there's no genetic diversity. Yeah. But yeah. I also hope the banana stays, Dan the BC man. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fond of bananas. I like eating them. Yeah. Banana. #1 exporter of potassium, as the song goes. Anyway, yeah. So there we are. Let's jump from amniotes here. This is the group of animals that includes us, and I guess this is our last common ancestor with dinosaurs would be here, amniotes, us as people. But let's jump to banana. Let's see. I'll try that. It's not going to be the Cavendish banana, but this is a flowering banana, a wild variety. Genus Musa, I believe. It'll be way down there within flowering plants. Anyway, isn't that cool? Flowering banana, Musa ornata. And we've got the plantain there. Musa acuminata. So this is a wild plantain. It's gonna have big old seeds in it. Yeah. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. Yeah. I give you a great idea. Well, great, Coho Warren. Great. Planted as a crop on my friend's unused land. There you go. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, didn't we have a dinosaur deep dive from yesterday that we could go through? Should we do that right now? Who redeemed a dinosaur deep dive yesterday? It was Ankylosaurus, redeemed by Kennedy 104. Kennedy, are you here right now? Because if you are, Kennedy, I also have a thank you for you. Because I got something in the mail today. From you, Kennedy. Let's see if Kennedy is here. But, yeah, we could talk about Ankylosaurus. book earrings? No, Claire, I didn't get book earrings. Yeah. Oh, Lenina and I got amazing book earrings from Kennedy. Oh, that's super cool. Claire Burr, that's super, super cool. No, I didn't get any book earrings. They'd have to be clip-ons. I know it looks like I have pierced ears, but those are freckles. They're not piercings. When I was a kid, people used to come up to me all the time and they'd go, "Wow, do you have pierced ears?" And I go, "Nope, those are just freckles." Yeah. Anyway, maybe we'll wait till Kennedy shows up, but I got something in the mail from Kennedy. Some replacement earbuds. This is how I keep up on audiobooks and podcasts and stuff like that. I use these literally every day, and my old pair are held together with duct tape and mechanics wire. So it'll be really nice to be able to replace that now once those finally fail. Thanks to Kennedy. So thank you, Kennedy. And Hope! Jody Fish, yeah. Held together with Hope, too. Yeah. Godma says, what kinds of audiobooks does a dinosaur digger like Danny prefer to listen to? A lot of books on science, books on history. Yeah. There's a book I've been listening to that's really, really excellent by one of my favorite authors called Debt, The First 5,000 Years. It's really good stuff about kind of like the history of... It's dispelling a lot of myths about like where currency came from and, you know, this like myth of the barter system and all that. By David Graeber. Really, really excellent book. And David Graeber actually died suddenly, I think about 1.5 years ago. He was only in his 50s, I think. It's a tragedy. One of my very favorite authors, really original thinker. And, I think he had a... Yeah, he kind of, like, outlines some of this at, like, talks at Google and stuff like that, and... Yeah. So this is good stuff. If you're interested. Yeah. But he's written some really cool books. Anyway. And is there an audiobook site we would prefer linking? I don't really know, Claire Burr. I use Audible, but Audible's owned by Amazon, just like Twitch is. So, I don't know. If there were like a small independent audiobook distributor, I'd be happier to plug them, but I don't know of one. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, local libraries. There you go, Blanket Monsters. Shoot, actually, yeah. My crew chief this summer in the field, Jim Kirkland, was talking about how you can get audiobooks from the Utah State Library system, and you can get them for free through an app on your phone. Some of you should look into that. See if you can get audiobooks for free. Just check them out from your library. You could do it right from your phone. It's brilliant, so check that out. Yeah. Libro.fm? Sure. Yeah, try that. Thanks, Sky in the Sky. Yeah. And you have that in Colorado, too. Very nice, Casey Snowart. Yeah. Yeah. And it ain't hard having fun when you got a library card? Agreed, Blanket Monsters. Yeah. Yeah. Local libraries are incredible resources. They are really, really important, and they really don't get enough love, in my opinion. Yeah. Anywho. We might have to wait till tomorrow to thank Kennedy for that gift sent in the mail. But let's see here. Any other questions that anybody's got? I should talk for a minute, actually, while you come up with some questions, chat, about our big push for Twitch Partner Plus. What is Twitch Partner Plus and why is it important? I'm going to try and find you a quick video that's not too annoying on this, which might be tricky. People complaining about this. Yeah, whatever. Ugh. Let me just show you here. So, this is something that we're really trying to push for the next 3 months here on Paleontologizing. In order to continue this mission of science outreach and education, and in order to be able to bring on other scientists and be able to actually pay them for interviews, that's something that's really, really important to me, because if you've been here for a while, you've probably heard me grouse about how most scientists are woefully underpaid and overworked. If we're going to appear in things like TV documentaries or, you know, news shows or whatever, we're almost never paid to do that. Unlike other people like politicians or political commentators or whatever, scientists are just expected to work for free, despite the fact that we're often working for less than minimum wage, you know, in our normal jobs. I want to help buck that trend. I would like to have more scientists as guest interviewees here on Paleontologizing and actually pay them for their trouble. Something like, you know, $50 for an appearance on Paleontologizing for like an hour or two, you know?
Try blaming the dinosaurs. Have you done a talk on plants, etc. that evolved for extinct species?
Koho Warren, we have talked about ancient plants before, yeah. Yeah. I've never done a talk on them, though, like at a conference or something, if that's what you're asking. But I've spoken about them, yeah, about lots of Mesozoic plants here on this channel before. But that's actually a great example of something that I don't know a great deal about. I'm not an expert on Mesozoic plants by any stretch of the imagination. It'd be great to be able to bring a paleobotanist on here and talk to her about, you know, plants from the Mesozoic. I would like to be able to get to the point where I can do a weekly, or maybe even more than weekly, maybe a couple times a week, guest appearances by other paleontologists and other scientists to further our goal of science outreach and education, and I would like to actually be able to pay them to do that. And we have a way of getting to that point without necessarily requesting that people gift more subs and cheer more bits and stuff like that. There's this thing that Twitch has introduced recently called the Partner Plus program. I think it just came out in like August or something. Or maybe even more recently than that. But basically, if you reach a certain threshold, then suddenly you get a new revenue split. So rather than it being a 50-50 split, where right now, I as a Twitch partner get 50% of every gift sub, every recurring subscription, every bit, everything else. I get 50% of that. Or at least it is for subs. Anyway, 50%. This instantly bumps it up to 70%, and then Twitch only gets 30%. If I reach a certain threshold, if we as a community are able to get up to 350 recurring subs per month, and if we can hold that for 3 months, then bow, for a whole year, instantly. It's a huge bump. It's like a 40% increase in revenue in terms of recurring subscriptions. And so we were talking about this yesterday. If you type in !PPP, it helps with that. Displacer, thank you for gifting Koho Warren. I appreciate that, Displacer. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. So that does help me, Displacer, just like normally, but gift subs don't actually count toward this. It's a little tricky in that regard. That's why I'm talking about it right now. What counts are recurring subs. So if you subscribe and it recurs every month, that counts as 1 point. One sub at tier 1 is 1 point. A tier 2 sub is 2 points. A tier 3 sub is 6 points. And we had several people yesterday, several very, very generous supporters of this channel decide to bump up their sub tier to a tier 3. And it really helped us out. We started off yesterday, we were at 263 out of 350. We're at 316 out of 350 now. We're getting real close. So, honestly, just a few more people subscribing for the first time or bumping their sub up to a tier 2 or especially a tier 3 will help us out even more. So once we get to 350, we just got to hold that for 3 months and then we are golden. And that would be a huge revenue bump for this channel, and I would be able to pay other scientists to come on here. You know, like, I could offer them a $50 honorarium as a thank you, and as a way of trying to change the culture around scientists appearing in media. We should get paid just like other people get paid. Scientists shouldn't be expected to do this stuff for free, especially since, I don't know, the majority of our time working is often unpaid as scientists.
Subtropical delta.
So,
Home of the big plant eaters.
Sculpin?
Monsters who chase them.
Holy cow! Did you just bump that up to a tier 2, Sculpin? Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Sculpin. I really, really do. Thank you, thank you. That is brilliant. And that helps. That definitely helps. It really does. So thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sculpin. Thank you very, very much. I don't know how quickly this updates, but let's see. We were at 316. That's more or less instant. 317 now. Beautiful.
It may not seem like much. 500 bits goes.
Thank you, Basil, for those 500 bits.
Our tweet here on Twitch.
Thank you for those, Basil. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, Basil. I really do. Yeah. And Coho Warren, thank you for the 200 bits. Beautiful. We've got a hype train going here. Lovely.
The most dangerous dinosaur around.
And there's Jim. Machi, thank you for the tier 2. Did you just bump that up, Machi? And Displacer, holy cow.
Dinosaurs soon occupied every corner of that world.
Thank you, Machi. And Displacer, thank you very, very much. And Milan, thank you for the 100 bits. Milan says, my favorite place to lurk. I appreciate that, Milan. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Holy cow, Displacer and Machi, thank you so much for bumping those up to a tier 2. Those really help. Holy cow, let's take a look. We're at 317. It hasn't updated yet, but it will. Yeah, that should take us up to 319 out of 350. And by the way, once we get this, after 3 months, if you feel like it, you can absolutely bump it back down to a tier 1. You know? I know, especially nowadays, people are on a budget, and I get it. That's the cool thing about this, is once we hit that threshold, we can breathe easy. And you could just take it back down to a tier 1 if you want to. So, Machi says, happy to help. I appreciate that very much, Machi. I really do. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. You stream when I work, so I enjoy chilling here. Thank you, Milan. Thank you. Hey, it warms my heart to know that I'm making your workday a little bit more pleasant, hopefully. Make it go a little faster. I am honored to be of service, Milan. I am.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
And Coho Warren, thank you for gifting Cosmos there. Thank you, Coho Warren. Very nice, Coho. Thank you, thank you. That's brilliant. Appreciate that. Yeah. And do the points only count on new subs? Otter do it. New subs, or if you bump up your sub tier. It has to be recurring subs. So Prime subs don't count, gift subs don't count, bits don't count. It's only, yeah. We got a lot of legalese here. But a total of 350 Partner Plus points must be maintained for 3 consecutive months to qualify for the Partner Plus program. Partner Plus points can be accumulated via any combination of recurring, paid Tier 1, 2, or 3 subscriptions. So it's only recurring tier 1, 2, or 3s, if that makes sense. Yeah. And Lenina says, it'll have to be after the first of the year, but Blue will likely bump up his. If you can swing that, Lenina, you and Blue, I would appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. And Casey Snort says, if you hit 350 for 3 months again during the year, does it start the year clock over? I think, once you hit it, then you get that better rev split for 12 months after that. And if at the end of those 12 months, you've still got higher than 350, then you keep it for 12 months after that, I think. I think that's how it works. Yeah. And I got 3 months of tier 2. Does that count all 3 now? Displacer. 3 months of tier 2. Thank you, Displacer. I don't know if it counts all 3 now. I think it probably changes. I think it probably stretches them out, which is nice too. Yeah. But I really appreciate that, Displacer. Thank you. Anyway. But if you drop it for a month, you need to start again at the end of the 12 months. I think so, Milan. Yeah. If somebody is actually, like, really into figuring out the details of these things, and you can read about that here. Yeah. New partner program benefit will offer a 70% share on net subscription revenue to streamers who meet the qualification criteria. There's a link. And Sculpin says, only counted 1 of my 6. Okay, Sculpin, yeah. So that means, well, that's a good thing, because that means I don't have to worry about it for next month. It helps just the same, Sculpin. It really does. Thank you. Yeah. Is there a rules lawyer in the house to decode this? There you go, Jody Fish. Yeah.
Hope this helps. It's my first time subbing, not being gifted.
Kind of hot in these rhinos. Thank you. Holy moly. That definitely does help. It definitely does. I really appreciate that. Holy cow. Let's see if that bumped it up at all. 317? It might just be waiting to refresh for now. But yeah, shoot. Give it a couple hours and that's going to be... Yeah, I'll make sure to update it tomorrow to update the command and update our stream title. Yeah, 316 out of 350. We should be at 317 now. But yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Us gifters have been keeping Danny from getting partner bonus this place. Don't think of it that way. Also, I don't think that's true. I appreciate everyone who's contributed to this channel and everybody who can't necessarily afford to do that too. Like, I understand. Shoot. My food budget for the week is usually like $25, you know? So I'm used to living frugally, and there are not many channels I subscribe to here on Twitch. I get it. So, like, every bit of support is a tremendous honor, and I'm deeply grateful for it. I don't feel the least bit of entitlement to any of that. Like, every little bit is a gift, so thank you. Seriously. And there we go. Level 3 hype train, beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Good stuff. And Kinda Hot says, I'll bump it up to tier 2 tomorrow just to make sure it counts. Rhinos, thank you very much. Well, this channel is great. I really appreciate that, Kinda Hot. That's the thing. We only need it for 3 months. And then we're sitting pretty, you know? Yeah. So yeah. Anyway. Well, goodness. With that having been said, I have got some more packing that I've got to do. because I'm getting ready to move next week. And so it is time, I think, for me to wrap up today's stream. I also want to get some content together, some different topics, some different...
I can see that my 50,000 a year has been well spent.
Holy cow, how to do it? Holy moly! Thank you. Just bump that up to a tier 3. Otter, do it. Thank you for that. Extraordinary. Thank you very, very much. Otter, do it. That is brilliant. It really, really, really is. Thank you. Good stuff. It's not registering on here yet, but I think we've just had a little too much activity. We'll check back in tomorrow. See how much that's increased. You're very welcome. You do amazing. Oh, Otter, thank you. Holy cow. Yeah. Wow. It may only refresh like once every half hour, once an hour. Jody, I think you're probably right. Yeah. Anyway, I really got to pace myself with this whole packing thing, so I'm gonna... Oh, thank you, Claude Badley, for the 250 bits. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the support. I really do. Yeah. Be up late? Oh, Kev Gamer? Well, it's good to have you here. Thank you. I'm actually getting ready to wrap up right now, but I'll be streaming again tomorrow. And, yeah. I'm, looking forward to hopefully seeing you there. Chat again tomorrow. Let's do one final check on our 3D printer. Ooh, the book stand is printing beautifully. Even though we've got some spider webbing there. That's fine. That's wooden filament tends to do that. But nice. Anyway, everyone. I gotta get to packing. So, without further ado, let's start wrapping this thing up. Don't go away just yet. We're gonna find somebody else doing some science here. Thank you to everybody whose names are showing up here in the credits. And let's see who else is on. Let's see here.
If you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
Thank you, Coho Warren. Thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate that, Coho. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, is Brit on right now? Creatrix Brit is currently on. She's doing some 3D printing of her own. Let's go see what she's up to. Creatrix Brit is not just a sometimes moderator on this channel. She does a ton of 3D printing, costume play stuff. Right now she's having a 3D sculpting, printing, and hangout stream. So let's go check her out. She also is really into Star Wars too, so if you're also a Star Wars fan, you will definitely have something to talk about in her channel. Thank you to everybody whose names shoot up here in the credits. From those faithful moderators, keeping this thing going smoothly, to the gifters and subscribers and cheerers and those people who bumped up their sub tiers. That will probably be our silver bullet, honestly, for getting Partner Plus. So thank you for that. Also to the raiders and the lurkers and the chatters and the question askers. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. I know we had a short stream today, but you know, casual stream. I've got a lot to do. So I'll catch everybody later. I hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, you take care of yourselves. Bye for now.